belated Merry Christmas, almost Happy Early New Year's, Happy Holidays. Hopefully everyone's doing wonderful. Oh, how you doing, buddy?
I am good. How are you?
I am wonderful. It has been far too long since you've been on, so it's always good to have your smiling face back.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Coffee.
Beer. Did you have a good Christmas?
I did. Oh, I have something. You know what? I'm gonna put the coffee aside for a minute, for a while though, and do some high noon.
Cheers. Cheers to that. So our semi-holiday Christmassy stream. Shelly, thanks for the super chat. I didn't even start streaming yet and already super chatted. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that.
I was actually in your neck of the, well, not your neck of the woods, but I spent the Christmas up in Toronto with some family.
Nice. That's awesome. You come to Canada far too often. One day you're going to have to come visit me.
Yeah, yeah, you're pretty far.
Yeah, just the opposite coast. I make it up in your end of the woods enough. Yeah. Dave, how are you liking your new scape in the water box? So far, so good. I'm digging it so far. I definitely want to do more pruning. I have a lot, like, just for instance, my Aggie tort. I have like 3 different chunks of big colonies of that. Like, there's certain corals I think I'm going to tone down and maybe get some other ones to put it in those spots just to mix it up a bit more. One thing that was really bizarre, I have a bunch of little red dots on this one arm after doing that big scape slash fragging that day. So I'm wondering if something stung me or a coral but the other arm's fine. So it's just the one that was mainly in the water. So I was like,
Mm.
what the heck? But yeah, so something definitely got me the next day. I'm like, what the heck? Why do I got these little red dots on my arm? So there you go.
I saw that video, and I am a little inspired, but I'm still kind of scared. So I've wanted to lower my scape for a while. It's been a
Mm-hmm.
topic of conversation, well, at least with myself.
Yep.
Not that I've said it out loud to anyone, but I've been meaning to lower my scape a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And because corals are starting to grow, I'm not saying I have colonies, but they're at the surface already, or I'm a year away from them being at the surface. So I put the
Mm-hmm.
scape too high.
Yep.
But instead of changing the entire rock, what I saw, like your video inspired me to maybe change out half.
Mm-hmm.
So, half, at least the peninsula side, when you're
Yeah.
looking, you see low and then it goes up.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking about it. But I do not want, I have no, I don't have the desire to aquascape. So I'm probably going to go to my LFS, the aquarium shop in New York, and just have those guys build something for me,
Yep.
and then I'll make it work. But in terms of like getting the stuff, I, I have no desire to like aquascape.
It is kind of fun. I mean, all I really did is I took out some rock. I took out a couple chunks that I threw in the office tank just to put it somewhere and kind of rotate and change stuff up. So I removed a few pieces, I fragged off a few pieces, and then, I just kind of like reattached arches to different spots. Now, I really like to see the sand bed. Like, it just gives it, like, being able to see the rock, like the coral and stuff attached to the rock, even if it's on the sand bed, I'm putting it up against the rock and then having that like separation between the sand and the rock. I don't know why, but I really like that look. So I'm gonna try really hard to not add anything else to the sand bed that's not already there. And even like some of the stuff that's there, like if I can somehow make it rock mounted or at least butt it up to it, I've visually I think that looks a lot better.
That's a good point because I've always wondered, and maybe this is just jealousy, but when I look at your tank or other people's tank, it looks neat to me. And then I realize I always have stuff on my, whether it's the sand or the ground,
Yeah,
and other people who are like, don't have stuff like, I'm a collector of stuff.
I know
So
that's the
I
hard
will
part.
just have stuff like a random, not, I don't want to say chlamydia clams are random, but I'll get chlamydia clams and they'll just sit there. And then I'll get another piece and they'll just sit there. So it's never, in my opinion, it's never clean. And
Mm-hmm.
then I have a hard time letting go of things. Like I have a Duncan colony that
Yep.
is probably 80 heads and I've grown it from one or two. So I
Mm-hmm.
have a hard time getting rid of it. And it's not happy because it's an SPS tank with a lot of flow. So
Yeah,
I try to stick it places where, but so
that's fair.
um
I understand. Same thing. Like I don't even really like fragging my corals because I see so many tanks where you have hundreds of little tiny finger frags and it never gets grown in because everyone just keeps fragging and talking it and stuff. But I love the mature grown in look. But it's
that
also
dragon. that size of
Oh,
that
the one I posted
dragon.
today?
Yes.
Is that
Well, no, the
huge?
video.
Yeah,
That thing is
that
huge.
yeah, so I just posted here. We'll see if it shows up. I just posted this to
I
Instagram when
saw
I
it in the
was
video. Because
Oh yeah.
I sometimes when I'm working, YouTube plays in the background, and I saw the biggest dragon colony I saw was a few years ago, at least on
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, I saw Jake Adams had like I think yours is about the same size. That's
Yeah, it's huge.
huge.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
what are you gonna do with that?
I don't know. But that's the thing, like it looks so cool, but at the same time it takes up so much space. So even I took a few chunks off and it's still massive, right? So it's funny.
Is that something you trade into your LFS? You have a good relationship with them, or because you stick it in the frag tank.
Hmm.
I don't know if the big in at least in my opinion,
Hmm.
big colonies like that don't survive well in a frag tank because a frag tank isn't made to give them the same type of flow.
Yeah, fair.
That yeah, so you stick it in a frag tank, you're probably going to lose it, but that's a nice piece of
Yep.
maybe put something else there that maybe has a similar growth pattern that's going
Well,
to end up looking just as
yeah.
good.
I'm sure I'll keep it. I'll probably just like half it in size. We'll see. Like I even took a few chunks out, but it barely put a dent in it. You can't even notice the thing's so big. But yeah, we'll see. I got some new toys for flow I'm gonna play with, so I can definitely add a lot of flow to the frag tank if need be.
Any question? Anything interesting? I know JCS says, "What did O get for Christmas for the tank?" Not much. I I set up a nano tank. I literally I was filling it, Devin.
Yep.
So when I was at Reefapalooza this year, Ultim gave away tanks to pretty much they
Nice.
gave away pallets of tanks. Like Ultim just gave away. You just had to tweet them or in share. And then I got a great tank, a Dymax acrylic tank, 7.5 gallon from CoralView.
Hmm.
And Devin, I was filling up the tank 15 minutes ago, and then I realized like, oh shit, I'm going to stream with you. So I just put water in the nano tank.
Yeah.
But I ordered the new AI pumps, because it fits like the small
Yeah.
one would fit in the return. But that's the only thing I bought. This is the only new thing I think I bought for Christmas. Like the thing I haven't used it. Everything is just
Yeah.
I'm just replenishing stuff and just you know keeping things going as they are.
Yeah, that's fair. What I do? I gave my tank some love for Christmas. So I gave a water change to the office tank because I didn't trust all my parameters. I'm sure they're out of whack, and I'm sure it's deficient on trace elements and all that stuff. So I gave it a brute container water change. It's like 30 gallons or whatever. And then I'm actually refilling it right now. So tonight I might give the water box one. So they're both kind of water change for Christmas.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing earth shattering. I think I'm at that point now where if something earth shattering happens, it is probably something went wrong. It's just water changes. No, I have not hit max level of reefing. I started my tank with a lot of maricultured colonies,
Hmm.
that I got, not colonies, but frags that I got in my LFS, and they gave me frags. And I think they're at the point now where I kind of know what they're going to be.
Hmm.
So, for instance, I have a ton of blue stuff. Like some of it is cool, like blue with purple, blue,
Yeah.
but the blue stuff doesn't, it's terrible to say it out loud and please, but the blue stuff doesn't fluoresce well when you're on the blue light like you're seeing behind me. So,
So that's the thing though, right? If you just run, like super heavy blues, like AB plus style, it's not as vibrant. But if you have the whiter, crisper look, then the blue looks awesome. So it really depends on your light schedule.
yeah, but I have some corals from, let's say, Tussie, because Tussie
Hmm.
is local to me. And next to it, I understand what you mean, Dev, but next to each other,
Too close.
and yeah, and then I have so Kat for Brightwell.
Yeah.
I need to connect with Kat, but Kat has said she was looking for blue corals months ago,
Yeah.
and so Kat, if you're watching, I have blue corals for you. So I think there's a bunch of Cali. I don't know if she wants Cali Tor, but there's a lot of blue, smooth skin acros that I have that are just again, it's just I think I've just reached where I want to try something different. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna move some of those on.
That's fair.
But Brandy, I have not hit max level of reefing. It's just like anybody else. There are things. It's just I think I'm in a good place, is what
Yeah.
I'm gonna say.
No, that's fair. I'm kind of with you on that one. I've been contemplating that similar thing because part of me wants to add, get a bunch of cool new corals, but at the same time, it's like, hey, everything's so grown and looks awesome. But am I semi starting over if I just remove big chunks of coral and put in new stuff? But we'll see. That's what I'm kind
Hey,
of debating with some of it.
hey, Devin, I'm sorry. Dan Swanson is asking if he wants a white and blue X1 doser. Yes.
Yes, to all.
Greg and I,
Mm,
Greg said he stopped doing it. So a couple months ago, Greg and I decided we're gonna try. Like I think these are two sister. Like this is terrible. This is
KZ.
Coral Booster,
Yeah.
and then this is Flatworm Stop.
Oh yeah.
And instead of like setting up a Versa, I thought the 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 X1, because you can daisy chain a couple of them together,
Mm,
and I'm not going to be messing with it because it's consistent dose. I
yeah.
thought I would just set up two of them and just have it dose. And I have one, and that product is not sold anymore. So I've been looking for an X1 doser, just again to have two dosers, one plug, nice and simple. I don't want any kind of crazy level of controllability. Those pumps are
Oh,
simple.
those
They're
ones. Okay.
Bluetooth. Yeah, so Don Swanson, please, if you know me on
Anywhere.
anywhere, if you know me anywhere, um, please hit me up, and I will absolutely. Um, Instagram anywhere. I am absolutely interested in those dosing pumps,
Have
and
Have you dosed the flatworm stop and coral booster combination before?
this is my first time. About 3 months ago, this is the first time I'm doing it.
Okay. So, I've definitely done that in the past, and I do feel it does help with kind of growth to an extent. It, I don't know if it makes it, in theory, it's supposed to be anti-flatworm, but I think it like thickens the skin and whatnot. But for whatever reason, I feel like it does help corals based out a little more. I don't know if that's purely anecdotal, but the one thing though, when I did do it, I only ran it at about half of the recommended dosage. So if it says 8 mil a day, I dose 4 mil a day type of thing. And partially because that stuff's kind of like coral crack, and if you give them too much of it, and then you cold turkey cut them off, your corals will not look as good for a while. Which they'll look great when they're on it, but not. So I only ever did a half dose just to like, don't get them hooked on the blue bottles.
Is that's interesting? I got a great deal when it was on sale, so I got the big bottles.
Yeah.
So I am gonna continue till it runs out. But I see what you mean. And the stuff with KZ, you never know what's in it.
Hmm.
But I'm not someone who goes crazy over not knowing what's in it because sometimes when the stuff is explained to me, it's way over my head anyway.
Hmm.
But I think KZ has been around such a long time where I trust it.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely works. But just like know that like I just call it coral crack because I've heard from so many people that they quit dosing it and then their corals look crappier for a while. Yeah.
Isn't it? I think that's anything KZ. And I'm not trying to blame KZ. It's like KZ has this. The thing I like about KZ, I think the best tank I ever had was KZ when I was doing Zeovit. But I don't think it's necessarily because the Zeovit method. I think it's because I was looking at the tank every day. It required you to dose a little blue
Mm,
bottle, so you were in tune with what was happening. Um, so there's a soft spot in my heart for KZ stuff and Zeovit. So
yeah.
I trust it. It's been around a while, and whenever
Mm,
you need help, the other thing I respect about Zeovit is if you go to the Zeovit forums and you ask for help, you don't get a lot of people with what you don't get in the Zeovit forum is a lot of people speculating. You
mm,
actually get a response from someone with a step-by-step guide.
yeah.
And whether it's true or not, it actually makes you feel good when someone answers and says, it's the moderator or one of the sub-moderators who said, we've had many members who've dealt with it, and here is the step that's
Mm,
recommended by KZ itself. So I
yeah.
like that.
That's fair. Fair points. They have some form of coral food I started using again too. It says it doesn't raise nitrates and phosphates. Coral vitalizer maybe. I found that in my mini fridge. I was like, oh, I'm gonna start using this again. So I guess this is like, Devin's reef resolution, but I've started to do, I did an ICP test on my tank and I got it back and was okay. So I kind of like manually tweaked all the stuff that was off. And then I'm trying to be better doing like trace elements, because back in the day when I was doing like the shiner, where I dosed it every day, stuff actually looked amazing. It just was more vibrant. So I'm trying to get back in that habit of just doing the little mini doses every day. I don't know.
Yep.
I should just buy a bunch of dosers and automate it, but so I'm trying to get better at that. So everything looked awesome when I did it. Of course, I've been slacking. I haven't done it in like a year, so now I'm trying to like get myself back on track of giving the tank a little more attention.
Have you ever used the Aquaforest stuff? Like I have the Aquaforest stuff. It's just that I'm doing the KZ. Like I have everything Aquaforest. It's just that I'm doing KZ, so only one thing at a time. So I'm probably going to let the KZ run its course, and then afterwards give it an adjustment period before I try the Aquaforest stuff. But it was given to me, and I saw it at Reefapalooza last year. The guys from gave it to me, and it's, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it.
Let me know what you think. I've been debating doing, because I've always just done like the random mix of stuff, right? I haven't really picked, one certain brand or method. I just kind of do whatever. But I have toyed with the idea of, because I have, the big tank, the office tank, and then the Nano. I was like, do I pick, just do a different method on each tank? I mean, it's not really a good way to compare it because it's not the same tank, but I've debated that just for the sake of like trying to stick to a certain regime and see if it's, any better than just my random blend of what feels right that day. But
I think that's part of the fun.
yeah.
And there's a lot of things I do. For instance, I took the calcium reactor off. My regulator was giving me issues. So I took the calcium reactor. I know Reef Keeper doing the Ocean Guard is full Aquaforest. Yeah, I saw that. That's one of the reasons I was interested in Aquaforest. I took the tank off of the calcium reactor because my reactor, and a friend did give me one, but it was too late. So I chose to do Triton. And the reason I chose to do Triton is I know Joe Caparetta, who distributes it in the US. There's 2 LFSs I can go locally to pick up the stuff where they have all the tests. So, you choose different things for different reasons. Maybe on my Nano tank I'll do something different, but I like Triton because it's local. I know the guy who's distributing it. I know Nick Chan. We all know Nick Chan, who knows Eshan, who's been using it for years.
Yep.
I know my British friends who've been using it for years. So I know enough people around me who've been using it for a while that I trust, that I can ask questions if anything pops up. And then, if I need it, I don't have to order it and wait for it to get delivered. I can go to my LFS anytime and pick a bottle up or pick something up that I need. So I like that about it. Same thing, when people ask me why I like Ecotech AI, I'm in New York and they're in Pennsylvania. So it's a day shipping round trip when you need stuff fixed versus, sending it to somewhere on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, what I'm trying to say is a lot goes into the things I use. It's not just what's given. It's like, hey, is it easily accessible? My LFS, the aquarium shop in Westbury, they sell the Aquaforest stuff. They have it. So if I like it, it's accessible.
Yeah. I mean, what's available is a big chunk of it, right? Because there's no point, doing something that's a pain in the butt to get.
Yeah. ESV, I haven't used ESV in a while.
I used to use it. I liked ESV. It was simple, full of trace.
Yeah, and I feel like if I use ESV, I'll never switch because ESV is made in New York. It's local to New York.
That's
easy. Rob Stark is here in New York.
Why don't you use it then?
I will.
Just get the 5-gallon buckets, put those babies on, and forget about it for months.
I absolutely will at some point. I will at some point. It's just I feel like I will never switch.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's so convenient. It's cheap. Yeah. It's available locally. Other places, when maybe you're ordering it from BRS in the huge quantities, you have to mix it yourself because they don't want to ship the liquids around. No. But locally, it's liquid. Like I just go to the LFS and you fill up the 2-gallon jugs of 2 parts, and that's it.
That's easy. Yeah, that'd be not bad. I actually, yeah, I did really like that one when I used it. I would totally use it again.
It's been around for so long. It's I would not use the salt. I don't want to play mad scientist. I get I used the salt once for its intended purpose. When I overdosed on something, my calcium was like 700 and I needed to take it out. So I actually bought the salt and I didn't put as much calcium. I did the calculation and I did half the calcium amount. So when I did
Yeah.
a water change, I actually did water change, but brought the calcium down by keeping the other elements stable. So I did
Nice.
use the ESV salt, but to do it every time I need a water change, I would be doing like mad scientist, and I cannot do that.
Yeah. Fish fincher. Aquaforest salt got down to $58 per 200 gallons. Not bad
Where?
at all. I don't know. That's a good sale. The
What is
problem for
BF? Where's
Black
BF?
Friday.
What?
Too late now. There's technically Boxing Day for Canada, which is kind of like a Black Friday, but that was good. Um,
Yesterday, it's
yeah.
crazy. So I was in Toronto. So
Hmm.
yesterday, it was a national holiday, but all the people in Toronto drove to Buffalo to shop.
That's funny.
So when we were driving home, like there was no traffic going to the US, but
Yeah,
all the Canadian plates were coming from Buffalo back to the US.
that's funny. Yeah, there's yeah,
Hey, I grew up in
that's good
Jamaica.
sales.
Boxing Day is a big holiday. I
Yeah.
remember Boxing Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
So I
Good to
know
know.
Boxing Day is. It's a big
Yeah.
holiday. So yeah.
I want to stock up on salt, but then everywhere no one had like free shipping. You had to pay a bunch for shipping, so then it kind of killed the savings. I was like, eh.
I do in Ocean. Petco.
Yep.
Um,
How much?
Petco used to have it so cheap. I used to get so last time I got two buckets for $52, but
Oh,
you
that's
have to go
cheap.
pick it up.
See, that's cheap. Like for me, even in Ocean, I think last time I bought it, it was like 60 something for a bucket or $70 on sale. Regular's like $80 or something. But it used to be like $40. Like the prices have gone way up on salt the past few years. It's crazy.
Also, Instant Ocean has implemented a map pricing, so you cannot go
Mm,
below in the US 50. It cannot be advertised for less than $58 or something to that effect.
okay.
But with Petco, I have this thing called Petco Cares. I think I pay. Let me see if I understand how it works. You pay $10 a month.
Mm,
You get a $5 gift card every month,
okay.
and you get 15% off dry goods. And I think it used to be 20% off livestock, but I think that went down. So
Mm,
by the time you stacked all your credits on top of each other, the
yeah.
salt would be really cheap. And you
Oh,
still can sometimes, but yeah,
yeah. Whenever I see a sale, I just buy 3 or 4 buckets and
yeah.
just stock up. But I think for this year or like next year, I want to get better at doing periodic water changes. I've been severely slacking, even every month or two, just do one just for good measure.
Yeah, it's been working for me. And I think because the salt is so cheap, so I'll buy buckets.
Hmm.
And please don't tell my building owner, but sometimes I put the salt on the fire escape. And it doesn't, it's an ocean when you open it, and it'll absorb moisture.
Yeah.
Once you never open it, it stays out there all winter and it's still powdery in spring.
Was
So
good.
once the bucket is sealed, you can't, I think once you've broken the seal, you don't put it back outside, but I leave it on the fire escape like all
And it's
winter.
okay.
Yeah,
I think they have a rubber seal, don't they? If they do, then it should
yeah,
be
it
safe.
does.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay. Since you got nano tanks, have you seen my nano?
Not recently.
Okay. So I did a 14, 15 gallon nano on my desk.
Hmm.
And I have a couple zoas in there and one bounce mushroom. And then the rest of it is just Gonioporus. So my plan is to make this basically 95% Gonies in this tank. And I haven't dosed it. I haven't tested it. Whenever I do a water change on the big tanks, I've just been doing one, so it's gotten more water changes than anything else. So eventually I'll have to start doing some supplement. But Gonies don't grow that fast, so they're probably not huge demands. But
Is
a
that
debate.
tank on Instagram? I'm pulling up your Instagram to see if I can see the nano on your Instagram.
I don't think so actually.
Okay. I see a picture with some nice Ghanies.
No, no, but I fragged some little chunks out of my big tank to start it off.
Okay. The
But
nano. So I turned my kids lagoon.
mhm.
So please, please, guys, do not follow this. Like I am nuts. So the 25 lagoon have the back chamber.
I've
So
always wanted one of those tanks.
I
Yes,
took
sorry.
a hobby knife, cut the back chamber out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that looks nice. Oh,
Focus.
um,
There you go.
okay, that looks nice. So it's now a lagoon. It's like a straight lagoon
Mm-hmm.
with no back chamber.
Yeah.
And then I put a canister filter on it, and I lowered the water level. So there's like a 2 inch, like the water level is really low, like 6 inches. So it can slosh back and forth without going out. And I put really low flow in it most of the day. So I like how it looks. So far I have some plate corals there. I'm trying to keep zoas out of it, but I don't know, zoas keep sneaking in. I have a couple nems in, but I want to make that a mushroom tank. I'd put reborn, old reborn as a substrate, which I like. So I'm going to keep that. So this nano tank in the front that I just set up that I was telling you, I think I'm going to just put a couple of nems in it and just keep it that way.
That'd be cool. I originally thought about going the NEM route, and then mine decided to crawl into Powerhead, so that kind of killed it. But now it's the Gani tank.
That's why, so it's weird sometimes how we think. That's why I want a more reliable pump. That's why I've gone for the Axis, because I do not want to do a power head in the tank. So literally the return, and I eventually I'm going to, when I see Vivid again, when I see Antonio from Vivid, I'm going to get like a random flow generator. But I was hoping, yes, no additional power heads, no Nero 3s, no anything. It's just a return. And then hopefully I put something there that'll help me know if that pump fails. But I want something a little bit more reliable as the return pump versus just a stock little pump that comes with it.
Yeah, so I put in the mid-size access, which is overkill. Like the 20 would have been plenty. I put in the 40, and it's only running at like 40%, but it's tons of flow for the whole tank. Like the Ganis are all swaying, there's no power head, so it actually worked really well for that.
Don't you love, I know we're going from topic to topic, but don't you love, I was talking to, I forgot who I was talking to Paul and my British friends about this like literally an hour ago. Don't you love the Nero stuff? Like, I understand there's a ton of gyres. There's the max spec gyres. There is the Red Sea gyres. There's the Ice Gap or wherever gyres. I've gone through so many gyres. And now you have the AI gyre. The one thing that I think, the AI gyre, there's no power brick. I have a power brick problem. And the fact is, there is no power brick with all this AI stuff. Like, I put on a Nero 7 on my back glass the other day. And I think I knew this, but it was just a reminder. There's no power brick. Like, all this AI stuff.
There is, but it's tiny.
No, it's just the thing that plugs into the wall. Means there's not another thing I have to manage. Well, the power brick in the middle you have to manage. But if you mount, like I use a Coral View controller, like if that is mounted to the wall and you just stick that in it, I don't have to worry about any wires or power supply in between. So I like it for that reason. Like, I'm enamored with it for that reason. Like, no power brick.
That's nice.
Less power bricks to manage.
That is nice. Do you Alpha Reef, use it on your tank, right?
I've used it in the past, yes.
Are
Absolutely
still,
loved it.
Or used?
No,
okay.
I don't.
Okay, why'd you quit?
Because at the time, I don't remember. I think I got to the point where I was dosing like 70 mils of it every day. And I think something was happening where, guys, I'm not a chemist or a biologist, so please don't kill me for the words. But something happened where I think I was dosing so much of it. There's some kind of biological process that I think happens where you dose something and it takes like a day or two for something to happen. So
that's an Alpha Reef thing. That's an Alpha Reef thing. It's like because it's calcium formate, and it like takes a bit to do its reactions. And I know it's like a bit of a delayed thing.
So the alkalinity was fine, but then the calcium was always off because it was a day or two behind. So I think it just got to the point where the tank just hit the limit on it. So I changed to the calcium. Hey, Dev, do you remember the entire calcium reactor episode that we had on the phone where it exploded? That was me
sure
changing from Alpha Reef. Yes. That's
jeez.
Yes. So that was the Alpha Reef, me changing from Alpha Reef a couple of years ago. So that's...
So you should have stuck with the Alpha Reef. Okay, wait. If this was a Nano, why are you putting... Never mind.
No, Nano. No.
Okay.
I'm not putting... No, the Nano, I'm not... The Nano is right next to the big tank. So my plan is to, whenever I'm doing water changes on one, I'll just put some water into the, replenish. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
that's fair. Okay, so I think you guys may have sold me on Ultra Reef. I've never used it. I'm gonna try it. You used it on your Nano, you liked it. Phil, that's all he uses, and it does include trace elements, which is pretty sweet. So I think for the Gani tank, I think I'm gonna order up the powder and just try mixing some up and try it.
So cheap, Devin. Now that you have the powder, before when you had to buy the premix solution or when you had to DIY it yourself,
Yeah.
it was a lot harder. But now with the powder, I'm really so shocked it took such a long time for the powder to come to the US because the
What?
powder was
There's
in
no
Europe.
stock? Ah, not in stock. What is
You
this?
can mix it yourself.
No, I just meant the powder's not in stock.
Oh, well, you have enough friends in the US.
I know. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, so I think I'm gonna try it.
You can mix it yourself. You can
Yeah.
order like all the, and you have a stir bar. You can absolutely mix it yourself because stirring when you're mixing it, when you're doing the DIY, stirring it for the correct time to get the sediments out is the most important thing. You can do it yourself, but it works. It
Okay.
works.
Yeah. No, I totally do that. I happily will mix up my own stuff. I do that all the time because it's way more economical. Okay, I'm gonna try it. I think on the Nano because I got a bunch of Ganies for Boxing Day. Oh, that's what I bought for Boxing Day sales. Ganies. So I was chatting with Marsh from Fragbox, and he's hooking me up with a couple Ganies.
I am so.
And so he had 3 or 4 of these going to hook me up with. And then there's another place called Shoreline Corals. And they had half off. So I think I bought 7 of them. They're cheap. So I was just like, how many different cool ones do you have? And I think he said 7. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. So I'm going to have like 10 plus more varieties of Gani coming in the next like couple weeks. So the
I
Nanos is going to be
wonder.
packed full of Ganis. It's going to be amazing.
I, ooh, I wonder if I should make my instead of making it a NEM tank. I wonder if I should make it a Connie tank.
I love Ganis. I vote yes. Um,
I already have, but my colonies of Dev, I have colonies of Connies though. They're not tiny colonies. They're actually quite big. So I wonder if. All right, I'm gonna think about it.
yeah.
I'm gonna think about it.
We'll see. I'm just gonna load up my Nano with Gani frags, and I just want them all to grow together and just be a big rainbow of Ganis as my rock. I think
Oh,
it'll be
you're putting
awesome.
a single rock in there. You're putting.
No, well, there's
I have my Connies on tiles.
4 or 5 pieces of rock I glued together for the Nano. Yeah, I just cut frags and put it in there. Like all the ones in my tank, I literally just shaved off a little, dollar size chunk and put it in the Nano.
I like. I think I'm gonna go to the LFS whenever I go to the LFS this week, and I'm gonna get a flat. It's not gonna look cool, but I think I'm just gonna get a flat piece of like that Marco rock that's flat on both sides.
Yep.
Put it and put Gani's in the back and front, and that's what I'm gonna do.
No, that'll be good. I
No.
support the Gani tank. I don't know. I think it's going to be cool. I've always loved Ganis. I've never had a dedicated tank. I mean, it's not fully dedicated because I snuck a few Zoas and a single bounce mushroom in there, but maybe I'll take them out later. It'll be all Ganis. What do you think? Should I add some Zoas and other stuff or just Ganis?
I made a mistake with the lagoon tank I was selling you for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I kept trying to get rid of. I hate zoanthids
Why?
because they just grow out of control whenever I have them. My last tank I had to break down because zoas kept. So they grow so well, or maybe I just don't have the nice ones. Where I think I saw a zoa in there, and I went on a trip, and when I came back, the entire like substrate was covered with zoas.
Yeah,
Luckily, it's reborn. I took them out,
that's easy.
cleaned them off, and put them back. And I guess I missed a few because November and December were huge travel months. And when I stopped and came back, guess what?
Dun dun dun.
More zoas.
Yeah.
I don't think, but it's not the nice ones. I don't have nice zoas. It's
Well, the nice Zoas grow slow and they're overly priced, and the ones that are cheaper, free, grow like a weed. They're trouble. So it works. You like those minty ones? I put a post up, and tons of people want them. I'm like, they're somewhat invasive. They're not terrible, but they definitely grow and spread. So I'm
I
giving
had
away as many of those minty ones I can because they just spread too much for me, and tons of people want them. So I'm happy to give them away.
I've given away so many Rastas. I've given away so many. What's the one? Other Chaos. I think I'm
Oh yeah,
responsible for crashing the Other Chaos market in New York because there were just so many of them. Ugh.
yeah. I have hundreds in my tank. Same thing. I think I added some blue eye blondes, and then a couple. I got probably about 10 of those in there, and then some rastas, and I might add some maybe like some hornets or a couple other ones. Like I can do on like the lower edges of the rock at the bottom, and then all the gonnies up higher. We'll see. I've already
Just
added
like
them, so they're in there.
we're, we're all just experimenting and playing with it. Um, I'm looking at the chat. Hey,
No, liked and shared. Always appreciate James. Okay. So you sold me. I'm gonna try Alpha Reef just because I've never tried it. It's got to find the powder now.
I think you should.
This is ridiculous, but should I put? Debating if I want to put an auto tester on the mini tank or not. I feel like it's overkill. But I also have one. I'm just sitting there, so.
Oh man, you cost me money every time I talk to you. I have an Alkatronic,
Yeah.
which is loud.
Yeah.
I am going to upgrade to a X10, Hydros X10, which, you can add the IV alkalinity tester for really inexpensive, just 100 and something bucks. It's really cheap to get. So I can't put the Alkatronic in my kids' room because it's so loud. I'm going to have to.
Oh, the Reef Factory, I think it is. It's the quietest one ever. It is so quiet. Okay, one thing. Fish Ventura, thank you for the super chat. Appreciated. What stir bar did you end up going with in the big ice cap stir? I did post a link in the video I did on it. I don't remember offhand, but I basically took a caliper and measured the distance of the magnets in the base and bought a stir bar that was the same size. I feel like it was 50 or 60 mils, but I'm not 100%. I'd have to go check that video. If the biggest thing is too with the magnetic stir, if you add too much calc in the bottom, it makes it harder for it to stir and it can decouple. Or if you spin too fast, it can also spin it off of it. So you got to keep the spin speed lower and not put in too much calc in order for it to work well. That's the biggest thing.
What's the US price for the I'm on the Reef Factory website. What's the KH Keeper? What's the US retail price for the KH Keeper?
I don't know. KH Keeper.
771. Oh, Dev, I cannot. Oof. I don't know.
Yeah, so anyways.
Thank you, Fish. I don't know if I want to spend that much. I have a Trident. I love the Trident.
Yeah.
Because it tests calcium and magnesium. So, and now with that little hack where you can get the Trident to test less, so my reagents last longer, yeah. I don't know. I think I would rather just get, for my kids' tank, if I need to test a second tank, I think I would rather get...
So, okay. So I don't know if I'm going to do this. You're saying you'd rather get a Trident. The Trident's not quiet. It's not quiet.
But the fact that you can tell it when to test, you can test.
True.
The Alkatronic is loud at all times.
You can make it better, but yes, it is not the quietest in the world. You know it's testing. But it's the same with the Trident. My wife complains about both when they test. So I've modified all the scheduled times to make sure that they test, not in the wee hours of the night.
Really? Yep. All I hear is sticky, and there's a little whirring noise.
Oh, it's enough for my wife to say, stop it.
Really?
And I was laughing. I did a stream with Thomas last month, or maybe it was this month, and same thing. He says his wife complained about his too, so I laughed. So I showed him how to modify the time. Yeah.
Interesting. Good. That is interesting. I think it's quiet. The Alkatronic is loud.
Now they have a little quiet kit, which is basically like a little foam thing that goes around it. But the biggest thing I found is it depends where your thing is, because it's the vibration transferring from the pump to the plastic. So if you get it floating right with the little bushings in the middle where it doesn't vibrate it, then it's way quieter. I know I did a bunch of tweaking on mine to make it pretty quiet. Anthony, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated.
You think if I get some of that dampening foam like what Than did in Tidal Gardens, that will help?
Probably. But it's the vibration through the plastic that makes it loud, right? So if you can like tweak the pump screw mounting in the position, you can make it quieter.
Okay. All right. You know what? Let's see. Let's play. I think right now, and I'm saying this right now. I think I'm fine. I don't need. You know what? With the, you know what I like
What?
with the Coral View IV. You can actually test two tanks on the same thing. So maybe I will. You can set it up to test two tanks from the same. So maybe you know what, Dev? Maybe I don't know yet. I have no plans to put an auto tester on a Nano yet on my kid's Nano. And
I
but if you
probably
say
will.
the Reef Factory KH Keeper is quiet,
It
I'll
is
think
very
about
quiet. It is the quietest tester out of all the ones I've ever had. Now, for sure. But okay, if I had the nano tank on a stand and had space to hide everything, I totally would. But being on my desk, I don't know if I will, because that means more crap on my desk to hide, which I don't really have space for that. So I might
it. Yeah.
not. I think a single dosing pump with all for Reef and to just do like a weekly elk check and make sure everything's in line, I think that would be enough. That's probably all I'll do. I'm probably going to keep this tank super simple.
Yep. Manny's Reef said Trident is lowest, but dose is on. Oh my gosh, we're not going to go there. The dose is absolutely unbearable. When it's dosing long amounts. If it's just turning on for a microsecond, it's
Yeah.
okay. It's just
Yeah. I agree. I don't notice the dose for regular dosing. The bzz, bzz, like the mill here and there, don't even notice it. But for like an auto water change or continuous, for me personally, I find it too loud.
oh
I
too
would,
loud.
yeah.
Um, Someone said I bought my Radeons from Killer Deal. I don't
Careful.
remember that, but okay.
Yep.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. I like my electronic. It's not silent, but not crazy loud. Agreed. I'm curious. They have a new one coming out too. Their Mastertronic Essentials, which I'm curious. That's got to be coming out this spring, I'm thinking. But
Too many of these things. They have
so
too
many
many of these.
options.
I
I know.
know.
Does it
I
make it harder to
here,
have so many options?
Here's what I am gonna do. So my kids' tank, my main tank behind me, I run a Trident.
I have a quick
I
question.
run. Okay,
Is your kid into it, or is your kid's tank an excuse for you to have more tanks?
no answer. They're
Okay.
sort of into it as much as kids
I'm
are.
just bugging you.
Um,
Yeah.
my tank, I run a Hydros.
Hmm.
However, I do have a line connecting the two tanks where I run a Trident here. Now, because I do Triton and I do Kalkwasser, I do have the Trident and a dose here where it sort of keeps up the magnesium and calcium.
Hmm.
Magnesium mostly as needed. So I'm very unbalanced. So I like that. And there's
Hmm.
nothing that integrates into my Hydros controller that does that. So it's a weird setup. But
That's
my
fair.
kid's tank is fully on Apex. Um, I wish there was something that did calcium and magnesium, but I find that I really you could do this and have information overload, and I really don't want to go down that path. Every
You
time
can.
I'm so fearful of going down this path because I fear that I'll love it. I didn't want to get a Trident because I was like, you don't need it, but it was. And now I love alt testers because that's the
Yeah.
parameter you need to keep. I'm just worried that, listen, I know calcium and magnesium, it's not as important as alk, but
Hmm.
knowing that they are there and they're being monitored gives me that time when I'm busy and I can't dedicate the time to the tank for a couple of weeks. You have a new baby, so I think you get it. I don't want to go
Honestly,
down that rabbit hole because I feel like I'll get hooked.
I feel less reliant now, but having a newborn for the first like year and a bit was probably like kept my tank alive to an extent, right? Like, I just did bare bones basics of like surviving it and topping off stuff. And even so, like, like trace elements, all that stuff being dosed right out. Who knows how long ago? Like, I finally just replenished it the other day. So, if you are not home or not around, or you have a newborn, or something's preventing you from giving your tank lots of love, I 100% agree with like it is a lifesaver. But now I feel like I'm finally starting to give my tank more attention, where I could get by more without relying on it. But yeah, for that period of my life, massive lifesaver. Probably save my tank.
Someone's asking if this is the same reefing widow on Reef to Reef. I'm like, it depends.
The one and only. The one and only, buddy.
It depends.
I can
Um,
I can hear the dose from 30 feet away with the TV on. Yep. I mean,
yeah.
at least he knows dosing.
Yeah, for microdosing or if it's coming on a mill, it's not anything. The loudest thing on my tank is my skimmer, and it's only when everything else is off you kind of hear it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So on the skimmer front, so I upgraded to a Bubble King. I bought one a while ago, and it is hands down the quietest skimmer I've ever had. Like, it definitely lives up to that one name, and that was literally the main selling feature because I wanted to not hear it.
You have a Red Dragon pump, right?
Yes, I do.
You have the Red Dragon 3.
Yes, I have that.
I have the AC version. You have the DC version.
No, I have both. The 200 has the AC pump in it, and the 160 has the DC pump in it, and they are both super silent.
I have the one. I think I have a 200 with the AC pump.
Yeah, as the big black control box, right?
No, that's DC pump. If it has the control box.
No. Here, I'll see if the cord reaches. Since I obviously still haven't mounted it.
No, that's a DC pump. That's what I'm calling DC. No, that's a DC pump.
No, this is controllable AC. It is not DC.
Oh, yes, I know. Okay, yes. All right, if we're being... Yes, so it's the same thing as, for instance, an Abyss. That is a control... Yes. Okay, so I call that a DC pump, so I...
Well, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. It is controllable. Is controllable AC.
So in that case, that is dead quiet. I agree.
But it's dead quiet. I also have the DC version, which is in the 160. It's a smaller pump that is DC, and both are like so. Okay. Yeah, same loud as it was my skimmer. Agreed. Like that by far, the skimmer was still the loudest thing. And like at my desk, my skimmer cup is less than 6 feet away from me, and I don't have side panels, so it's completely open. So I want it quieter. And on both my tanks, same thing. It's like.
So that Red Dragon, the one you just showed me, that's an awesome pump, and I feel. Yes, that's an awesome pump, and that's dead quiet. By the way, I think you and I had a deal where we work out. I have an extra one of those that I'm not going to use, so let's talk after.
Sounds
the
good.
AC version of that, the DC version, what you're calling DC, I don't know if I like those. My opinion on those is mixed because I don't think that's made that one that you just showed me. That's a Royal exclusive built piece of device. The other one, I don't think it's Royal exclusive built. So I'm just not sold on the quality. I have the old AC still built by Royal exclusive pump, and it's just regular AC skimmer pump, which
okay,
and it's just loud. It's just an AC pump which has vibration, so it's loud.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Do you really think Royal exclusive builds their own pumps, or someone else makes them like every other brand?
I think that Royal exclusive Speedy 3 was designed. Yes.
Maybe designed, but I don't think they built them.
No, I think that's their pump and they made it. I think that Red Dragon 3 is a unique pump to Royal. I think so. I'm not gonna put my head on the block and say it.
I'm fairly convinced that there's like 3 companies that make pumps for everybody.
You might be right.
Yeah.
But
yes, it might be their design or their tweaks or their windings and
The other one, that motor block by Royal exclusive, I don't think I've seen many people with that. The one that you're talking about with DC, I think I've seen that before somewhere.
Yeah. Manny's.
In any case, that 3 is a wonderful pump.
Yeah.
I think there's probably only one other pump or maybe 2 that's out there that's better than it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like the Abyss, but that is the one you just showed me with that controller. That's a very good pump. Excellent pump.
Agreed. But yeah, it is like, I don't know. It's just, I literally, like, they were overly priced. I was leaning towards an Reef Octopus Elite because of someone else in the chat, so they're just super quiet. And I was also debating the Max Spec one, but then I talked to a bazillion people. I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, which one's the quietest? And everyone said the Bubble King was, so that's what sold me.
Hey, I'll tell you what's quieter than it.
What?
And it is.
Is it though?
Oh, trust me.
I don't hear this, so it's fine.
Quieter. But do you want to spend Abyss money? No.
It was bad enough spending Bubble King money. It was already pushing it. I waited like months and months for the Black Friday and like all like the actual good sales before I could even then it was pushing it. But
so just let's, I know we went down a rabbit hole with the pump, but let's take a step back from the pump. There's a lot of things. I know you're paying good money, but there are so many things on that skimmer that are just awesome, right? The way it just sits in the way the cup just sits in that little O-ring where you can remove the inside and clean.
Yeah. It's
I
easy to
know it's
clean.
expensive, but there are so many little things that you just look at it and you're like, that's cool. That's
The,
nice.
the other thing I noticed too is it is like it's heavy, it's dense, and they use much thicker acrylic than any other skimmer I've ever had. They've all been thinner, and I think that denseness also helps prevent vibrations and noise. So I think all those little things add up.
Yep. And
Yep.
they use 100% titanium screws. I know a lot of other manufacturers will say titanium, but I think Royal Exclusive is one of the only ones that uses like 100% titanium screws. It is
Hmm.
I'm a fan of the skimmers. I've used the 160 and now I have a 200, the older models than what you have,
Hmm.
and I can deal with when everything is off in my
Hmm.
living room and I hear it. I can deal with that.
The funny thing is the ironic thing is I have the bigger one in my office tank just because my sump has more space and the smaller one in my other tank, but it works out.
Yep, it's
Um,
not gotten to the point where it's annoying me yet, but
yeah.
I like it. Pulls a
Um,
ton of air. Where if I'm connected to the wall and pulling air from outside, I definitely, when I moved from my previous pump from the Nios 220 to this, I definitely saw a difference in pH just because these
hmm.
Red Dragon pumps just pulled more air.
Yeah, that's fair. It definitely
Yeah.
helps. Okay, Manny's Reef. Thinking of changing my dose for Versa's worth the switch. Depends what you're using it for. If you're doing anything that's continuous use, like a calc reactor or a calcium reactor, then 100 or auto water changes, yes. If you're using it for just straight up dosing, then the dose is fine. Or if you have a trident and you're doing trident controlled dosing, then the dose makes a lot of sense in that scenario. Yeah, so calc dosing. If you're using calc reactor, and again, it's like a constant thing, then I would personally do a Versa.
Me too. I
The only one, like, my only, like, miniature slight gripe, but not really, with the Versa is when you're using it on a calcium reactor, eventually the tubes inside get all, like, funky and hard and not pliable more frequently. Like, it seems like every 3 or 4 months I replace the one on my calcium reactor. But that being said, I had to do the same thing when I had a Kimura. It was 3 or 4 months. So it's not really a Versa thing. But the ones for my calc that are pumping RO, the ones for all my dosing, those ones last ages and ages and ages and ages. But the calcium reactor, I think that's just because you're running so much salt water through it, right? If you're dosing 50 mils a minute through it 24/7, like that's a lot of reaction time with the tubing. So
I
that's the
100% agree. The
yeah.
only I got so mad when that happened to me, and then I think Jay calmed me down. But absolutely. So, and what I realized is that yes, about every 4 months when I was using it to feed my calcium reactor,
Yeah.
I had to replace it. But I've never replaced any of the other ones. When I'm using it, when I'm pulling fresh water to put to my Kalkster,
Yeah.
I've never replaced that in
Yeah.
3 years. When I'm
Exactly.
dosing two part, I've never replaced it. When I'm dosing calcium, never replaced it. The only ones I've ever replaced is, and it's what happens for me. I've seen people where it gets hard and breaks. For me, it's the bacteria in it that
Hmm.
just doesn't let it pull as much. That
So
doesn't It just slows down. It doesn't get hard and kink. It's just the bacteria. Like it when I change it and I take it off, it's not hard or like cracking or brittle. It
mhm.
just has a bunch of slime in it, and the tube it doesn't. What do you call it? It doesn't have the tension anymore that
Yeah.
it used to.
So mine will get like harder and they'll be more flattened. So they're not as pliable. So you start to lose your throughput through it. But I legitly had the exact same happen with my Kimuras back in the day when I used to the Kimura FX STP. So it's not really that. I think it's just so much salt water through it, just how it affects it. Okay, Phil, I bought 10 feet of Tygon tubing and I swap out the Versa. Is that the same type of tubing that is like the stock stuff? I saved a bunch of my old ones with intentions of doing that one day, but I haven't really bothered doing it yet. But the only one that requires more maintenance for me is the calcium reactor. Everything else is not really an issue. They just seem to last a bazillion years.
I'm not.
We'll
I'm
see how it
not.
is with all for Reef because I'll get a verse and do all for Reef with it.
I'm not this DIY stuff. I'm not into it anymore. I just don't have time. Phil's retired, so Phil has time. Sorry,
Phil
Phil.
lives a good
Um,
life now.
I just you know what my alternative was. I just stopped using AC pumps to feed my calcium. I stopped using dosing pumps to feed my calcium reactor. I just ended up buying like a I use like at one point, Greg and I were using these little USB pumps from Amazon. Then I switched to um, one of these little sea chays, and then did you know that the new Tunzi pumps can be continuous duty? So I was in the process of hooking it up to my hydros with this little pin, but I stopped. I took calcium reactor off during that, but I just use an AC pump and just feed it and just adjust the pH is what I use to make the dosing more potent or not.
Yep, that's another way to do it for sure.
Yeah, just I listen. I believe you, Phil. It's just I don't want to do it.
I still do it because I like to tweak and have more control.
It is. It was, man, like $18 or $20, and then at one point, BRS didn't even sell it. You had to buy it from Ecotech, which was really annoying because then you had to pay shipping if you're buying it directly from Ecotech. But I think more people sell it now.
Yeah, at least for a while, it was harder to get for sure. Now I think it's easier. So, I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know. Do you use the Versa for Alpha Reef? I'm pretty sure it'll be fine for the long haul because all my other dosing ones are, but probably get one of those and some Alpha Reef.
Yeah, I think for the time of me using a dose, right? I think I've had many doses over the years. I don't ever remember in having to change like a dose head for a dose. And I've had dose units for like years. So I think it's something when you're pulling salt water through it.
I have killed one.
Really?
I was feeding something nasty, though. I think I was feeding potassium hydroxide through it, and it ate away at the fittings over time.
Why?
Because I do mad scientist things.
Ah.
Now the stuff I dose is much less potent, but at the time, when I was experimenting, it was fairly high potency, and it eventually ate the fittings. It goes to show how nasty that stuff can be. I know.
Yeah. I see. I'm Googling what you posted, Reefkeeper, and I see it. I found threads. So if anyone Googles I don't know what he calls it, Tygon fittings, you'll find threads on Reef to Reef where people are talking about doing it. Like, go ahead, experiment, try. I remember at one point you could find the dose heads overseas. Like, try. I used to do that stuff a long time ago. I have no appetite for it now. I don't have the time. I don't have the space.
Isn't Tygon like, it reminds me of Harry Potter for some reason. Is that the name of like their alley or something like that? That name's in my head for some reason.
Nothing about Harry Potter.
$22 for 10. My wife loves it. $22 for 10 feet. That's probably a lifetime supply right there.
I know, right?
Yep.
They say if $22 for 10 feet and you're cutting it in, I know they just said it here. They are cutting it into 149 millimeter lengths. That is forever. You're right. There's a lifetime supply for multiple people. 149 millimeters is just under 6 inches. And what do you get, 10 feet?
Yeah, for $22.
Oh,
$226 per foot. That's not bad.
So, wait, $226 per foot. So, 10 feet. No, you get 20 replacements out of that. That's actually not bad.
Yeah.
10
feet.
Do
a little work. Not bad at all.
Yeah, okay.
Pick yourself up some little...
If you sit there and do all of them at one point, then you have a lot. You have years worth of changes.
Yeah, like if you had a bunch of extra ones and you just save them and eventually replace them, and then make yourself a batch, makes sense.
Why not?
Be good.
Okay. I'm good. I'm down. I approve. Not that you needed my approval, but I approve. I just don't want to do it myself.
That's fair. If they ship to Canada for a reasonable price, I'll try it. If not, then I'll keep hunting later. That's always the problem. I'm not going to lie. You guys lucky in the States. You have way more options.
But come on, like what you did last time is try to do a little planning ahead. Send the stuff, to one of your friends in the U.S. and then pick it up. Hey, last time I tried to convince you. Okay, so I'm going to publicly chastise Devin for this.
Uh-oh.
I hit him up last year, and I'm like, Devin, are you doing Reefapalooza? He's like, no, sorry, got family. And I felt bad for asking, but you're like, new kid? And then I made the decision not to go to Reefapalooza Orlando. And then, like a week before the show, he's like, hey, I changed my mind, I'm going. And I'm like, oh.
Because someone said I could freeload off to a hotel room, and then I was like, okay, that makes it cheaper. Sold.
Yeah, but you could have... I told you that was an option, man.
Well, now I know for future.
Yeah,
If I can freeload off the hotel room, then it makes it much cheaper, so it's more justifiable.
that's fine. The hotel in Orlando is just let me know because if I'm booking,
Okay.
like we'll talk about this offline, but absolutely. And that is a really nice hotel in Orlando, isn't it?
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite ones, to be honest. But
That is the nicest one. California. I'm surprised you haven't made it to California. That is a
well,
really
if I
nice
can freeload off your
Hilton.
hotel room, maybe I'll go next time.
Um, not taking if I go to California next year, not taking the kids because it's now in September. It's when
Take
school
your Devon
starts.
instead.
It's a quick flight down for you, right? It's just a couple hours.
Oh yeah, it's way closer than Orlando.
Yeah,
California's not bad.
yeah.
Just straight down. It's perfect.
Let me know. We'll
Yep.
talk. We'll talk.
Okay.
I'm thinking of doing. I've never. If anybody from Worldwide Corals is listening, if an attendee does the round robin, you have to give them a special badge. Like you have to, if they do all the shows, you need like the next year you get to get like a special badge with like flashing light or something. So if you do all three shows, you do get a, I don't know, like an honorary badge or something.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, Woody's
Yeah.
gamer tag. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Using a Neptune Apex, how would you pause dosing for 2 hours based on elk? Something. Yeah, I don't necessarily say pause for 2 hours, but you can do a defer before it comes on, so you could defer your on. I usually just say if my elk is above a certain amount, then turn off
Yeah, and wait
until it
for the next
drops.
test.
Yeah,
Wait
so
for the next test where it drops. Yep.
yeah, so then it's off for your 4 hours or 6 hours or whatever your interval is, or 12 hours if you have it. That's what I would do. But you can just say min on time or min off time. You can say how long has the minimum be off for before it turns on. I think it's min. I have to Google this. Sorry.
Min military time.
Neptune min.
Min then on.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've done that, but I have done it. Yeah. Yeah, you can say min time, then off. So if you turn it off and tell to be min time, like 2:00, then on. So you can tell it to be there. But
Type it in the chat so he can copy the code. Not that he's going to use it directly, but
yeah,
he should definitely do some research and test it.
so don't turn it off, but that's an example. Now, just because the dose is in auto mode, I don't know if it'd try and turn it on. So you'd want to experiment with this before you did it. But what I do is I just say if my elk's over a certain number, then turn off. So it just stops
Yep.
dosing until the
Yep.
next test, and then it'll
So
recorrect
so
itself.
so the code you have at the top is correct. If ALK is over 9.25, then off,
Yeah.
and then you put the minimum time under that so it stays off for a minimum of 2 hours.
You could probably do like a defer as well, or the mid time.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Won't that
Manny's
keep?
Reef.
Yes, it will keep it off. But the min time, you could say minimum 2 hours and on, like turn it off and say min 2 hours and on, and turn it back on. But just because it's the dose, I just want to make sure it doesn't turn it on, right? It just goes back to the regular. That's what I want to test. So we know we're
Oh,
not
I
a
see.
fan.
I
Oh, it's
see what you
not that
mean.
I'm not a fan. It's just the fact that it takes up a lot of space. I don't have a lot of space. So the ACI calc method is basically mix up a giant batch of it and then dose it. Where I use a calc reactor because it takes up that much space instead of like a massive drum, which I don't have space for. So it's not that I'm not a fan. It's that I don't have the space. All right,
I haven't listened to. I think I listened to it when I think Chris Meckley first proposed it, and I like talking to Josh and Lou and Vic from Worldwide Corals and Fan from like Tidal Gardens because any advice those guys give, they tend to premise it based on like, hey guys, this is what we do in the farm, this is what we do at home. Like if you ask Fan for like a question, he'll say, this is what we do in the farm, and it works in a commercial facility. I think this ACI calc method, at least when I initially heard it, it's one of those things where I heard dose based on pH. I'm like, that doesn't work in a typical home tank because once you start dosing, like I just there's some things, again, it might have changed when I last heard it, but there's some things where I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like I think in a facility where if you dose, like we can't just dose like that to match a specific pH. We have to dose to, if you overdose your sump, like your skimmer goes nuts, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like I think that's just a fallacy way of dosing calc. I don't see it as anything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
A reason I like a calcster is the same thing Dev says, space. Like I just fill this one thing
Yeah.
that sits in my sump and it doses and I refill it every month. I don't once a month. I don't want to have to fill up a separate container. And like, I know Jake Adams was a fan of like mixing up calc that way and dosing it all over the studio, but it was also a big facility with him. He was dosing
Mm-hmm.
multiple tanks. So I, what I'm doing works for me with a calcster. I'm using the Avast Marine and it works for me. And
Yeah,
I just have a
that's fair.
VersaDose it and it replaces whatever I aim for more than what my top, I know what my top off evaporates. And then I have the pump turn off when it hits the auto top off,
Mm-hmm.
optical sensor. And that's what I do. And I think it works.
That works. It kind of self-regulates. I just tweak mine randomly throughout the year as like my evaporation shifts. But yeah, just using the optical sensor is probably easier.
So I think we should elaborate on that a
Okay.
little bit.
So,
When I first started the hobby, and I
mhm,
used to use fans to cool my aquarium
I
in
heard
the summer,
fans.
I always fans. I always had this thing. It was like, hey, in the summer it's hotter, you evaporate more.
Yeah,
It's actually not true. You actually evaporate more in the winter when your heat is on, your air is dry. So
sucks it up.
I go between evaporating maybe 3 gallon, maybe less than 2 gallons in the summer,
Mm,
to now my tank evaporates about 8, 9, or 10 liters in the winter because
hmm,
the air is so dry. Like I don't dose that much I dose 7 liters a day through my calc stirrer, and
mm,
then I have my auto top off turned on at 10 a.m. to kind of refill the difference.
yeah,
But I go through a lot more auto top off in the winter than I do in the summer. A lot,
interesting. I feel like
magnitudes more.
I use less in the winter.
Is it because your AC in the summer, you run your AC and it's drying the
Yeah,
air?
it
I don't
does
have a
for sure.
central AC. We use window AC
Okay.
units, and it's more humid here than probably you're in Kelowna, you're up in the
Yep,
Great White North.
I am. Although it's
Yeah.
not white, we've had like no snow this year. But yeah, it's false advertising this year.
Um,
Dun dun
yeah.
dun.
No, the Meckley method might win. I don't.
Lots of
I,
people
I
use it and they say it works. I
no,
I
I
yeah.
100% it can work. It just doesn't work for me, and I don't. For someone with a smallish tank, I don't. Again, I watched the first video on it.
Mm-hmm.
It just maybe it's changed or maybe he's clarified.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of the stuff that works in a commercial facility just doesn't work in hobbyist homes. That's all my thing is. Like when you're giving advice, just just hey, this is a person with a 50-gallon tank, not thousands of gallons.
Yeah, that's fair. Phil, when you were running desiccant, um, don't eat them, for your ozone generator, did you ever microwave dried out? I always threw it in the oven on just like the lowest setting, and that's what I use. I haven't tried the microwave. I bet you that if you have an air fryer, I bet you that would do it pretty dang quick though. I do still run them for like 3D printers now. I have them inside of them just to, like draw out the filament. But I quit doing it on the ozone just because they got exhausted way too quickly. It was just too much effort. I just accepted that it's less efficient, and I don't use a lot of percentage of ozone anyways, so I just didn't really worry about it.
Yeah. The reefer, yeah. Someone said I respect the Metley meta, but I want to experiment with it. There are a lot of ways to listen. The one thing in this hobby, there's many ways to do it. I've seen things done where if I tried, it would absolutely kill my tank, and um, I can't do it for different reasons. Also, the maturity of like what Devin probably does with that tank that you were pruning, it's probably different if I try to do that with a new tank because that tank is just mature and is
Mm,
just doing well. So it can probably deal with a lot more things than someone whose tank is on the newer side.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, For sure. I mean, the older a tank is, the more stable and the happier it tends to stay. But that being said, I mean, I'm trying to get it back to a happier place.
I have one more question. Why can't you dose calc based on pH? Because
You can, however, the crisp method is your alkalinity is going to be higher and don't worry about it. But for me, my bigger thing is, at least it depends on how much coral you have. On mine, I would be dosing way more RODI water via the calc than I'd be evaporating. It would be messing with my salinity level in my case. But I dose a lot for my tank for all the stuff. I have the calcium reactor running at like 45, 50 mils a minute. Plus, I have, what is it, like 4 to 6 liters of calc plus 100 mils of alkaline calcium on top of it. So, like, I dose a lot to my tank. Like, calc could not keep up with that. It just couldn't. Unless I had, dehumidifiers beside the tank and fans blowing at it and basically forcing as much evaporation as humanly possible. But for just regular, like, it just, I would be dosing too much calc. I'm maxing it out, plus I'm doing stuff on top. But if you have a low demand tank, then yes, you could absolutely do it just off calc.
Well said. And the pH thing is, if I'm not dosing calc and I'm not pulling air from outside, with me being in an apartment and my family inside, my pH will be 7.7. Imagine if I started that method and I needed to go up to 8.3. I'm dosing a ton of water that's going to overflow my tank before I ever get up to 8.3, because it's not like I'm going from 8.1 to 8.3. I'm going from 7.7 to 8.3. I'm going to overflow my tank before I ever get there.
Yeah.
So, I just think, listen, I think it works, but the pH, like Devin said, and I don't think I can explain it any better than he did. It's just, you're going to overflow and mess with the salinity.
Yeah, at least for higher demand tank, right? If you have a lower demand tank, then you're probably fine. But yeah, I don't know. There's times when I debate.
Even lower demand tank, you're just you're gonna keep your alkalinity going up without.
Yeah.
For me, the limitation is the amount you can dose. Like, I don't understand the pH thing. Like, you can dose as much calc up to where your tank. It doesn't matter what your demand is, because that's when you look for additional methods of supplementation. It's just up to how much calc, dose as much calc as you can up to what your tank evaporates and your tank is using.
Now, that being said, tons of people are using it. Tons of people say it's working awesome for them. So
I love calc, and I love calc.
Yeah.
I'm in love with calc. I just I just want that little piece of information go in that says, hey, up until where your tank is evaporating. That's it. Yeah. That's I just want people, even if it's a footnote somewhere. Yes.
I agree. Okay, Rob, I've been running Ozone for a year now. No dryer. Probably should think about it at some point. Yeah. So at least once a year, I would just say pump some RODI through it and then just blow it out with an air compressor or something. Just dry it out. Just rinse it out. Get rid of any potential nitric acid that's built up in there. You should be good after that. Yeah.
In your ozone generator?
Yep.
You pump RODI water through your ozone generator?
Like probably once, maybe twice a year, you should do that if you don't dry your air. If you have a humid environment and humidity flowing through the ozone, it makes not nitric acid, I think it's called. Anyways, it makes some form of an acid because of the humidity in the air, and it can build up within it over time. So the whole theory is, if you use a dryer, that never happens. But I'm like, I don't really care if it's less efficient, because I only run it like 3 or 4 out of 10. So I'm like, that's fine. I don't need it to be more effective because it's already plenty for my tank. But just flushing it out just basically removes any of that potential buildup inside of it. How? I just used like a big syringe and fill up the RDI and basically pushed it through it, and then just took it to the air compressor and just dried it out and put it back in business. It's super easy. Maybe I'll make a little video on it next time I do it. But it's really easy to do. But I would just say, every 6 months, 8, 9 months, whatever, just do that. Yeah, so do you remove the corona discharge or just push water through it? When I had the cheaper China ones that had the very flat corona discharge plates, I would unscrew them and take them apart and clean them. with the fancier one, whatever the brand name is.
Ozotech.
Ozotech, thank you. That one, I just hooked up like a big chunky syringe to some airline tubing and just forced water through it and just manually flushed it out and just sprayed some air through it just to dry it out and put it back in business. Just flushes out anything that's built up inside and basically makes it good as new.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it depends on the ozone unit. If you're using the cheaper China ones, the flat plates, take it apart, just use like a wet cloth and wipe it all down because they do build up with dust and other crap that will make it less efficient.
Did can you? I don't know if you want to touch this one, but hey, Manny's Reef. Hey, off topic. Um, do we know even hear anyone talk about the Neptune skies anymore? Did they turn out to be subpar lighting? Whatever happened to that light? Sounds like BRS was going to push it.
I don't know. I would say like lots of people still use them. Like I still see them out there, and I think that they work well for what they are. Like it's for me, I always felt limited because I like more channels. I like more control. Where that one only had the 4 channels, like less control. I've never owned one, so keep that in mind. But I did borrow someone's and play with it for a week just so I could try one. And it seemed pretty solid for just like a big spread of light. I still prefer Radions, obviously, but that's I see people use them and they work well. So
Yeah, for the
they're just
people who
less
have them,
controllability.
they work well. You are very nice. I don't know. I think this. That last line about Steve's VRS was really going to push it. I don't know why that one was. Listen, this came from a time when Neptune Systems and Ecotech were in like direct competition with each other, and now they're not necessarily. They're the same company,
Mm.
and it came out at this weird time where even the marketing material for the Sky like was targeting the Radeon Gen 4, and then the Gen 5 came out when the Skies got released. So it was like
Yeah.
we made this light to beat this light, and then you came out with a new light. I had a Sky. I think
Yeah.
it's fine.
Mm.
That's the thing I can say. It's fine.
Yeah.
What really impressed me with that light is you didn't need an Apex to run it, and it was controllable via Bluetooth, which, oh my gosh, I used to hear the Neptune people used to tell me, like, they preferred wired, and wired is best. Remember when we used to have that? Oh, God. But I think it's fine. I prefer Radeons.
Yeah.
I ran a Sky for a couple of years, and it was fine. I think it was fine, but I hands down believe that Radeons are better lights. And if I was gonna pay that price, it right now when you look at the Sky, I think it's in this weird price bucket where Radeon is more expensive, but is a superior light, and this is a little less expensive, and I think right now it's in this weird, I don't even know how to categorize it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know at what I don't know the use case. The thing that I think is kind of off now is I don't know the use case where I would recommend the Sky, because you have Radeons now. Now you have the MXM module where you can control. For the people who are claiming for control, you have the MXM module. And then you have, if you want to step down, let's say you don't want premium, like you have AI. So the thing with the Sky now, it's stuck in that place where I don't know where you recommend it. I don't know where it fits in the entire product catalog. And that's just the truth. I don't know when you would recommend it. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's a bad light. I
Okay.
just
One
think I don't know where you recommend it.
one arm reefer. I run a Sky on my Cade Frag. Love it. Kind of sits between Coral Cares and Radions. Yeah, that's actually a fair analysis. I think if the Sky was like $150 cheaper, it would sell a lot more. But I agree, it's like that slightly high point.
It would be a great value. Actually, you know what I thought about? I think I was discussing this with Greg the other day,
Mm-hmm.
where the Sky now, because the price went up. Ooh, sorry. I was gonna say because the price hadn't gone up when
Mm-hmm.
everything else had gone up, it's becoming a better value. But it's now 869. Okay,
Yeah, if it was like 650 or
seven
699,
seven
I
hundred
feel
bucks,
like it would be.
or if everything went up and it no seven six
I don't
fifty
know.
nine would have required the price to go down. Let's just be honest. So if everything had gone up and it was the less, BRS has tagged it as a bestseller 2023. I don't know, man. Like, what is a bestseller? Like, you have Radeons, XR30,
I mean,
XR50s, and then the uh, then
Well, there's tons of people that are like my one ecosystem and nothing else, so I could see it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, like certain people just they want all the same ecosystem, everything to work. So I could totally see it.
I can absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't agree with that philosophy, but I can absolutely respect.
they
I've just dealt with that when I was away on trips where
mhm.
everything hooked up to my Apex and required the Apex to work when I had my gyres being ramped up by my Apex and I was out of
Mhm.
town and it failed. And that
Uh,
was not a great conversation to have with my wife because nothing worked.
so yeah,
Because
so
the thing with the Apex is the dose needs the head unit to work.
mhm.
It's not like let's say you have Mobius and I know where there's not a lot of fans of Mobius. We all have issues with Mobius, but if the Mobius software isn't working, the dosing pump is still going to dose.
Yeah,
The light is still going to work. The Vortex is still going to work. I think with the Apex, some of the stuff, if the head unit fails, the stuff doesn't, you
okay.
know.
Are you still using Mobius stuff now? I found in the beginning it was definitely a lot flakier, but I found with all the new firmware updates, I have not had an issue in a long time with it.
I
So
have
I'm
this.
curious, what's your experience?
I love AI,
Hmm.
right? I love AI. I think the AI app work. I This is a me problem because I every time I go to Reefapalooza and I see Cade, I complain to these guys and they do something on my phone. I think I've been bringing code from when I was in the beta so far forward that something weird is happening because when I see Cade or one of the aperture guys at Reefapalooza and I complain to them about this, they take my phone and they do something and it works perfectly for about 4 or 5 months. And then I think something happens and it just reverts. So I don't know. I think it's a me. Maybe I just need to reset all my Mobius devices, delete the app, burn my
So
phone, and when I get a new phone, do not bring any of the old
you're
settings
funny.
over. I don't know.
Maybe. My blind theory is initially because they were trying to make it work with the old systems and the new systems at the same time. I think it was just bits of weirdness from trying to make it all work. But because I did beta testing with it earlier, so I've seen like a lot of different things of it. But now, like I'm gonna say the last 6 months I've had like zero issues. It's been extremely solid.
Mobius works perfect for me, but you know what I do? Can I get this thing to? All right, I'm going to
Put it by
turn
your
off.
face, your
Oh,
background deblur. There you go.
oh, so you know what happens? I
But
separate lights and everything else into two different tanks, and it works perfect. So with this is Glass Cage's lights. This
mm,
is Glass Cage's pumps. Everything is going to load. So now it's loading. In 3 seconds. It loaded all my pumps.
yep.
Probably have like 15 devices on Mobius, not lights. I have like four Versas. I have all these things, and it works perfectly.
Mm,
So whenever I try to add lights to the same tank, something weird happens. So I'm using Acro Power Versas. I'm using Vortex. I have MP60s. I just have a ton of stuff on it. So, but I think whenever I try to, I think I don't know what's happening, but when I separate everything into lights, I have
yep.
two tanks.
Mm,
Lights, all the lights go in one tank. It works perfect.
mm,
All the pumps and everything else goes on another tank. It works. When I
yeah.
try to sync them together, all hell breaks loose. But when I go to Reefapalooza and these guys do something, it works like a charm. I can do the remote access. It works flawlessly. And then over the course of 4 months, it just, I don't know. That's probably a me problem.
Hmm. Strange. Okay. CJ's Aquarium Blade and Orphitex are the best options. I really like the blades. I think they're pretty awesome. Orphitex I've never tried. Have you tried them?
Orphex. Is he
Yeah,
talking about
Orphix.
Orphitech?
Yes, sorry, Orphix.
I've never done it. No. I use a blade. I have a freshwater blade over my refugium.
I got one in my vivarium.
Love it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
they've been solid for
Oh,
me.
I have two blades. So I'm using my tank is 30 inches front to back,
Hmm.
and I have two blades. I have two blades. I'm gonna turn off the blur for a second. I have two blades. I have my Radions turned front to back, and then I got this custom mount. Thank you, Kyle, from Adaptive Reef. I got
Very
something,
nice.
same one Greg has, but then I have two to fill out the coverage. I have two blades, um, glows, and I like. Sorry, I haven't cleaned the glass. I came back from vacation yesterday and haven't cleaned the glass, but um, I like I like the blades.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love what they're doing. There's a guy on YouTube, one of your fellow Canadian, Dmitry Tumanov.
Yep.
Is that his tank looked so good on the blades?
Yeah,
He
he's
has
all AI.
he has a tank where he put the blades literally sitting on the actual tank itself.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, whoa.
Well,
I don't see any lights hanging or anything. That looks so cool.
that's what I have on my Nano on my desk. Like one big thing for me too, it's nice not having there's a zero light spill because it's like literally right on the rim.
My nano tank, I have a Kessel over it.
Mm-hmm.
Through a super secret expert program. I'm gonna request I'm gonna request one of those 12-inch blades and just use it. Because like you said, there's no light spillage, all the light goes in the tank, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all these lights, like I think I've used the Magic like vitamin E strips in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I use Reef Bright. Remember when Reef Bright had this kit that would have it hang on the Radions? I've used Reef Brights before. I've never used Orphic. Never used Orphic. I've had bad experience with the Orphic, and I just
Fair enough.
yeah, I do not have time. Where I'm at now in my life, with my family, my career, I don't have time to fix DIY stuff. I really like the Kessels, the Ecotechs, the Sea Chays, the Tunsies, where there's someone I can pick up and call. Like I like Tunzi because I pick up the phone and I call that number. Hello, this is Roger from Tunzi, and I talk to Roger about the issue I'm having. I love like Kessel. You buy Kessel lights, you get a 2-year warranty. You buy a Sea Chay pump, you get a 5-year warranty. Like I like talking to those people and getting issues resolved. I don't want to take my light over the tank and do like my own diagnostic. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's nice when stuff just works and they have support. Okay,
Yeah.
so someone in the chat mentioned it. So Fish Ventura, I love my blades. Regret not getting at least one grow. The glow is really blue. So I have the glow on the one tank beside me with Radions, and on my Nano I just have a single grow. And I don't really need more light, but I was debating if I should add a glow for fun, just to add a little more pop on top. But
I like the glow because it gives a little purple pop. So I like it.
it might be good with all the Ganies to have a little more poppy power. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll add one.
Yep.
Prime 16, a blade glow, great lights. Yeah, good combination.
I think glows. I think glows. Manny is right. They need to go away from this grow glow because they're tongue twisters. But like glows or any one of the lights with Kessel, to me, as I've gotten older, that Kessel shimmer can give me a headache. But I think having those strip lights, it kind of mimics T5s where it mutes the shimmer a little bit. So
it's
having
there, but
like
it's muted.
yeah, with like Kessels, I like that combination. So I like, you know,
Can you
someone's
run a
asking,
tank? Oh, 100%. My Nano with Ganies is only a blade, one single blade on it.
Dmitry Tumanov on YouTube,
Yep.
like, and it's not like someone who grew his tank out really nice and then added blades to it later. He actually changed to blades like more than a year ago, and the tank is doing phenomenal with it.
So my water box 7225, when I did the initial like testing and review of the blades, I had one grow and one glow, and that was honestly like a pretty solid spread on the tank. I would probably, overkill me. I'd probably do 3 of them just so it's nice and even and symmetrical. And that you could easily run a tank with it. I was getting surprisingly high par from the 2 lights on my water box. So you absolutely could just use them as a tank. The one beside me, I'm just using it for extra fill light / color pop, but you could 100% run them on a tank.
I have a question.
Sorry, I was gonna say, I love that there's like 0 fans. They're dead quiet because it's all passive cooling. And if you put them really low to the tank, like again, it would be like if you put them on the edge of the tank, it would be a little more of a pain to like maintenance things. So you'd be dodging the lights, but you would have 0 light spill, which I think is a really cool aspect. So it kind of depends on your room and where things are, but they're just different options, right?
And because they're made to sit right on the tank, they handle moisture well. In fact,
they're waterproof. I've dropped mine in the tank. It's
I
fine.
was gonna say, like, don't save this. in case I need to contact Ecotech support. But when I was putting that blade thing on my refugium, I dunked it.
I've
And it
dunked
worked.
mine probably 3 times and it's still working. So
Yep.
so
Reef
far so
Keeper's
good.
asking, why the freshwater blade instead of the Fuge blade? I didn't try the Fuge blade. I just don't like. I have my stand open, and I do want like the purple light,
That's
especially at
fair.
night when I'm trying to watch TV. So the white light, it just allows me to see green algae, and I like to see green algae.
That's fair.
And then the stand is open, and I just don't want to see.
It would be interesting to compare them and see if, one would work any better than the other one. But
Didn't the BRS test a while ago kind of said it did a little? I think you eke out percentages. If you're trying to for what I'm trying to do and I still have zero nutrients dev, it works well.
yeah,
And by the way, the Fuge blade only comes in one size,
yeah,
while the freshwater one you can get it in multiple sizes. So
fair point.
I did get the 37-inch, but I'm not trying to like drive the car pedal to the metal. Like getting it white, it still grows algae. I still take out 3-4 pounds every couple of months, dry weight of Chaeto, and take it to my LFS. So it still works. It still does what it needs to do without, like now you wouldn't be seeing blue lights. You'd be seeing purple lights everywhere because the Fuge light's on.
Yeah, that's fair. When did they start playing commercials on live stream? I don't know. YouTube started doing that a while ago.
Yeah, I was watching a stream the other day and it broke.
Yeah.
And no,
I turned on the lowest setting, like the most conservative setting possible. Apparently, it's still too much.
you got to make money, man. All this ain't free. Remember when Hangouts was integrated and people could pop in and pop
Yeah.
out?
I know. Good old days, eh? Maybe I don't know. I should do a big random one again. That was kind of fun. Maybe next week.
New Wave Aquaria has to be the worst hot company. Ooh,
Never used them.
yeah.
I feel like I've heard the name, but I don't know who they are.
I wish the blades had warm whites.
Yeah. Do they? There's cool whites. How's the tank reboot going? Relight the fire for your tank. It is I'm pretty happy with it so far. So I did prune out a bunch of stuff out of the tank. It still feels super packed, but I did open it up more and I can actually see bits of sand bed and there's like more tunnels and stuff what I didn't see before, which I do like. I'm still debating hacking out more coral and toning it down even more. Part of me wants to get some new frags just for fun to mix it up, but again, I'm like, where would I even put them? So I might do some more hacking and slashing and then see where it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Warm whites. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. That's what I was gonna do. I got distracted.
No, I don't know.
Now let's take a look here. Let me check if my grower has warm lights. I don't even remember. Devices, Nano, lighting.
Tracy said she has to do trimming on her bird's nest.
Nope, just cool light.
Bird's nests tend to. You said the grow only has.
Cool
let's see.
Cool light.
All right, let's see.
Yeah.
Edit. Blue balance. Yeah, it only cool white. Sorry. You are absolutely right. Let me see if the glows does.
Nah, they won't have it. They're all about the color pop. No way that would have warm white. Get some Radeon Pros.
I mean, thanks to spoiling, could have been a tantana, could have been a tantana moment, but
Yeah, cool white, blue, and royal blue. Yeah, I agree. We'll see. $18 a month to the skip commercials. I've debated the premium, but I don't know.
You know what, Tracy? I'm sorry, Tracy. I'm sorry, Tracy. Tracy, I will never do that again.
Do what? What did you do?
Call it a girl. O always calls me a girl.
Ah.
I'm sorry. What LFS you like in NYC? I used to like Manhattan Aquariums, but they just closed.
Oh,
so
really?
they went to a service-only company, so they're service-only now. I think you can still order from them online and do some sort of pickup.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but my shop I go to now is actually in Long Island, Westbury. It's the old former so Joe Caparetta still owns it. So the former manager of Manhattan Aquariums opened a store in Long Island, and I go there. I touch a few other stores in New York, but I don't know. I don't know. You see, okay, let me say this. I wish we had better stores in the New York City area proper.
Fair.
If anyone has any suggestions for store I should check out in the city of New York itself, not outside of New York, please let me know. I know the Reef shop up in the Bronx is good. It's been recommended to me. Um, I think there's a couple in Queens, but yeah, sucks losing Manhattan Aquariums. But if you need service, they're still there. But in terms of a storefront,
That's too
you
bad.
know, I know.
I know.
Yeah, they're actually in the process of moving. I called today, and they're moving the stuff. Eminent domain, where the city took over the property to
Huh.
build a public park.
Oh, I
So
heard that was
it's
coming
not
like years ago.
yet, not necessarily that they wanted to move. I think they've been fighting it.
Yeah.
I think they put up a good fight, but in the end,
Happens.
I know
Hard to fight the
it
city.
It sucks, man. It sucks. It really does suck.
Yeah,
That
I
was
know.
that was an awesome store. I love the location. When I
Mm.
first started going, that was a great neighborhood on the up and coming. I really, yeah. There's a park. When you go there now, it's weird because there's a park on each side,
You're
and
like, where's my
like
coral at?
this little building is like sticking up, and it's Manhattan Aquarium just sticking there. So I think they can't wait to just demolish the building and just extend the park.
Oh, crazy. Probably. Well, unfortunately, it happens. That's the problem now, like, especially in New York, because it's probably so expensive for land. Unless they've had land for a bazillion years, it's probably hard to justify buying a new spot to do it.
When I used to go to Manhattan Aquariums, like that was a weird. Like the west side of Manhattan was like terrible. Like
Yeah.
literally, the Central Park horses, they park down the street from Manhattan Aquarium. So when I first got to Manhattan Aquarium, so man, I'm remembering this like it was yesterday. Do you know Tom the Shield, who works for Neptune?
Yes.
First time I went to
Tall,
Manhattan
skinny Tom,
Aquariums,
right?
yep, I
Yeah,
walked in.
he's always
He
at the
used to work
shows.
for Manhattan Aquariums, and I walked in, and my heater had just crashed my tank, and I walked in looking for a Ranco controller.
Yeah.
I was
Hey,
like,
those are
some
good
people
stuff.
told me about Rankos, and he's like, hey, let me tell you about this thing called an Apex, which can do what you just said, but also does so much more. And from that day, I was totally hooked.
Yeah. Did he work
And
for
Tom,
Neptune then? Or did
no,
he? Okay.
he was the Neptune guy at Manhattan Aquariums, and he
Yeah.
left to go work for Neptune.
That's
And
cool.
Tom's been my guy ever since.
Nice. Hey,
Um,
I have a rank one in the tank beside me. Those are like tried and true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this I've been going to that store for what 12 years. Um, you know, my wife knows Tom. Few people in the hobby my wife knows, and Tom is one of them.
Huh.
Um, and yeah, just been going there for a while. So sad to see that building close. Really sad.
Yeah, that's too
Yeah,
bad.
eminent domain. Like I don't. So you have your business there for 20 plus years because Unique Corals that's in California was actually started in the basement of Manhattan Aquarium. So you have this business for 20 plus years, and the city just takes it and
I agree. That's not fair, right? It's like they should be able to do that.
I know.
Like,
I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna miss Macy's. Is not too far from there. The movie theater. So it was nice
why can't they
going
have a fish
shopping.
store in the middle of a park?
Yeah,
Sounds like a nice attraction.
my wife goes to, Macy's and does she want
Yeah,
to do. I go left and go to the LFS. It was a match made in heaven.
I know. That sounds pretty solid.
Yeah. Ah, sorry.
Yep.
I'm
I
sorry
know.
to go on about that. I feel.
Happens. Um, do. Betty got a fat payday. Hopefully, better of. I'd be peed if they're like trying to force me out of somewhere that I owned for the bazillion years.
Hope so.
Yep.
Hope so. I'd rather have the store, but that's just selfish me. That's
Yeah,
selfish me.
that's fair. I still have my Aqua Controller Junior. Was that the original Apex? Aqua Controller Junior?
Oh, that's the first Apex.
That's the original, like the old school one, right?
Yeah, Apex Junior was the first Apex I got. Hey, Chewy has a question. I think it's a legit question.
Huh, I
My
got those.
Apex corrupt. Oh, you read it or
My Apex corrupted yesterday. I had a factory reset. It turned on all my outlets by default. Ooh, that's not good. Turning on my auto feeder for 90 minutes. Oh, geez. I cleaned out my tank. I would just do a big massive water change. If Apex corrupted, it's probably your SD card's buggered. So I would just replace the SD card and redo it. That's my guess. But yeah, if your auto feeder went to the circus on your tank, I would just do a big massive water change personally.
I would do as big water change as you can and
Even
shrink some
multiple
of
days in a
them
row. Yeah.
straight. Yes, because that's the dry food, and it might not all dry up as one, right? And even if your cleanup crew eats it, they're going to be producing a lot of waste over the next couple of days. So
Yeah.
please, like just do string a couple of large water changes a couple of days in a row and monitor
Agreed.
nitrates and phosphates. I would test those at least every day for the next couple of weeks or every couple of days for the next couple of weeks.
I would
Wet
just do
skip
water
water
changes.
change,
I wouldn't
I
even worry
love it.
about what they were. Just
Yeah,
donate a bucket of salt to the tank and just do a bunch, and you should be good.
I love the wording there. Donate a bucket of salt to the tank. Um,
You know, little salt for Christmas.
yeah. But Staten Island Pieces of the Ocean, I agree. Back
Oh,
in
that's
the
what
day,
Poto
man,
is.
with Billy, I remember we used to organize these like get-togethers.
Mhm.
Sabella Fella, if you're on Reef to Reef and
Yeah.
Manhattan Reef, I think Sabella Fella, I think works there. They have
Huh.
some really nice stuff, and they do live sales and and they do really well. They have some good named corals too. So it's just a pain for me to get to Staten Island, but yeah,
Hmm.
I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah.
Good place. Good place.
Hmm.
They have good display tanks and they have good corals and they
Nice.
have good people.
Hmm.
Which when an LFS has good people who have good personal tanks. Like when you have
Yeah.
people who work for you who have good personal tanks,
Then they're
you're
good.
probably going to have good tanks in the store. And
Yep.
I think one of the things when I was watching a video, one of the things Pizza of the Ocean does, which I don't know how unique it is, every employee in the store has a specific tank in the store they take care of. And so, like one guy, like this is my tank. So I think it has different styles. I don't know, man. I'm a fan of that store. It's just
Hmm.
it's just hard for me to get to.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Rob, ironically, here of Apex horror stories, mine has never failed other than loss of DC power supply. I'm still using all my Apex equipment after 3 years. I had I had like the odd optical sensor, like my original ATK ones I had to replace. And I think I've replaced one ATK pump. Everything else has been actually pretty good overall for
I
me.
think one of the things we don't talk about
Hmm.
is how, and I'm not trying to say this is user error, but one of the things we don't talk about is how people treat. I agree that I've had more than my fair share of failures. I've had
Hmm.
more than my fair share of saves with the
Yeah.
Apex. I'm not using an Apex on my main tank anymore, but it's how you mount it. Like it has those open Aquabus ports, so please, guys, do not mount it over
Upside
your
down.
sump. Don't mount it over your sump
Hmm.
where there's a lot of splashing. Like, please be careful. I think that's so in places where you have high humidity, like
Hmm.
put that thing in a stand that's locked up with all the humidity. Like,
I just had a really good idea. There is, do you know on the Radeons? I don't think you know what the new ones had, but the original ones that had the USB ports, they had little rubber covers. You can
my
probably
LFS sells
buy,
them.
yeah, you
My
can probably
LFS.
buy USB-A covers though and put them in all the ports that you're not using, just as if it is in a super humid environment. That would probably prevent issues.
So I thought everyone did that. So I actually do that. So those plastic childproof plugs?
Hmm.
Stick them on your outlet ports when you're not using them. I thought everyone did
Hmm.
that. And then
No.
you could get these little cool little. I've experimented with a couple of them until I find ones that fit really snug. But yes, I do the covers. I do the USB port covers that I cover them because yeah, any kind of water and any kind of rust,
Yeah,
and
water and electronics aren't friends.
because it's a star topology,
Yeah,
it
there you
doesn't
go. Cheap.
fail very well. Yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah, um, yeah. But for you, when you get those little plastic childproof ones,
Hmm.
just buy the Amazon pack and just stick the rest over it. Like when you're ready to use it, you're gonna have to force it out. But I like the fact that it's so sealed that
Yeah.
probably no moisture is gonna get into it. So yeah,
Okay, best case scenario, have a different section of your stand that's separated. There's always some holes to pass stuff through, but you're probably pretty safe. But yeah, if you just have one open stand and your gear's like on the wall above your thing and there's salt spray and that's right. Oh, speaking of that, that is the
do
one
not
hack.
do. Do not put. I think I'm gonna go a little bit more extreme than you, Dev. Not that I don't agree with you, but do not mount your EB832 over your stand at all in a closed stand above your stand. Like I think there's always a skimmer overflowing and spewing water somewhere. Like I just don't think there's any scenario where I can recommend that at all.
That's funny. Phil, oh, when have you ever had an outlet not being used?
I
You,
have one outlet not being used now on my kids' nano tanks.
you know what's funny? I have one outlet, same thing. I just plug a power bar into it when I'm making salt. So I have the power heads and the heaters all running off it. It's like my one water change outlet.
I'm gonna tell
On
you right now. I think I have two outlets on my hydro stop being used. Phil. Um, Although I will say I have 8, 16, and 20. I have 30 outlets, so two are not being used. So there you go. I'm not using two outlets.
Do you ever think that we have too much gear in our tank that we need 30 outlets to run it?
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
I've tried. Remember when I said I'm going to try do a tank with no equipment?
Hmm.
And that didn't. I am who I am. I'm not
And
hiding
you own
from
it?
it.
Yep.
I'm going to own it. I have tried, though, with doing less, but yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm trying to keep the Nano very basic, and so far I've been doing well.
What I
So
have
far.
done is, though, is when I get stuff, I think about it a lot before I put it on.
And then you buy it
So
anyways.
there's no. Like it sits here, and of course there's a return policy, and you think, hey, speaking of which, right now, over my 25 lagoon,
Hmm.
I have, I think most of the major manufacturer lights out there, I've used them. So I'm thinking of trying the Illumagic X4 over my kid's Nano because I'm really intrigued. So I don't know. Like I just had this idea. I know like there's a few people locally in New York that's using them and they're having good success. So I just want to try it.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the Radeon narrow lens kit? I was shocked when I saw it, and then I was shocked it was so cheap because
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like a $50. It's $20,
Yeah,
Dev.
it's not bad at all.
$20.
I might actually try it literally just to get rid of less light spill. So it's a trade off, right? If you think about it, you have the same LED and you're spreading the spectrum out like this, or you're doing like a narrow beam. So if it's more narrow, you're going to get more par. It's going to be more intense, but you'll have less spread. Which, if you have your lights mounted high, you don't want all that spread, right? So you want more of a narrow beam, kind of like the G3s with interchangeable or the G4s, where the 5 and 6s have like amazing spread. But again, you might not want all that spread if it's too much light spill. So I don't know. I've been thinking about ordering some up and trying it just to,
I think I want you to do it first because my tank is in my living room.
yeah.
And before I had the blades, I had bought these light shades that shaded the light, and I loved it. I
Hmm.
absolutely loved it. So I am a fan of. I just want you to do it first. I don't want to be the trailblazer here, like putting your lights up higher and let me know if you have more, if you have a light spill. Like I really want to know.
So
Like,
I'm
I,
pretty
I,
sure it will kill a massive chunk of the light spill. Pros, maybe you have to clean the glass less. That could be a nice plus. Less light
ooh,
spill. You could probably run your lights at a lower percentage and save power. Also a big plus.
where you lose.
Downside, you won't have as much spread. You probably won't have as much light hitting the bottom of your colonies and all that rebound light. So from an aqua health perspective, it wouldn't be as good because you wouldn't be getting that, warm fuzzy blanket. It'll be more like the older style ones, which still worked well, right? But again, it wasn't necessarily like wrapping around the bottom of a coral, what you can kind of get with the new ones. I think that's kind of the trade off.
I'll let you do it first. I know what you said makes perfect sense to
Yeah,
me. I just I don't want to take them down
that's fair.
and make these changes without some hint that they're a good idea for
All right.
someone.
I'll
So
probably
I'm
get
not.
some and try it. I've been
Yeah, not
contemplating it, so you might have tipped me over.
yeah.
We'll see.
Now the MXM module. I
Yes,
know this is interviewing dev time.
that's fine.
Did you get it? And what were your thoughts? I don't see a lot of people using it. I just want to know what's your thought process around it.
Depends what you want to do with it. So I have one. I use it. You can control the lights, the pumps. I guess from one kind of cool perspective, if you want to, you like the AI gyres and all that stuff, you can control with it, which is kind of cool, right? So basically anything in Mobius you can, except for the Versas, which will hopefully come one day. It depends what you want to do. I haven't done this yet, but I keep thinking about it, is making myself like a feed mode for the tank where it, in Mobius how you can tune the pump and it'll basically hold water in the line. I thought about making a profile like that. So it basically holds water in the line rather than turning the pump completely off, which I might do that. So it's just the teeniest trickle. So that might happen. But like some cool use cases, if, again, you could do this from Mobius as well, or you can do it from Neptune with MXM. It's like, do you want to use one app or do you want to use multiple apps? So if you want to be able to do advanced programming or scenes, then it kind of would be the justification. Just like, for instance, I have a toggle for like movie mode. So if I'm watching a movie and I don't want any like the light from my tank messing with the projector, it just goes to very, very dim blues. Or like a photo mode. But again, you could do that through Mobius or you can do it through Neptune. Where the advantage would be if you wanted to automate it. Like, so for instance, if your tank, you had a water leak, you can have a profile that's all red lights and then have all your radions, your whole tank glow red because it's in alarm mode. Like, you can do cool stuff like that. Those are like some use cases for it. As for just controlling your pumps, like, personally, I don't really care. I don't think it's overly needed if you just leave your pumps on constant. But if you like to turn your pumps lower when you're in feed mode or something, then again, you could just push your your A, B, C, whatever feed mode on the Neptune, and your pumps could turn down lower. Or maybe you have a profile where, okay, they're lower for 10 minutes and they ramp up afterwards. So like mix it up. Like if you want to do advanced stuff like that.
That is cool
where it's
what you said
value.
about the red light, because if someone walks in and they see the tank red, I think there is no doubt someone's going to call you and say, I like that with temperature. Like if the tank's too cold or the tank's too hot or there's a leak or a pump is not working, because I've had chillers go out where the chiller pump wasn't working. So I think something that's a mission critical, I like the tank going red, because then your wife walks in or if your kid walks in, he'll be like, Dad, the tank's red. Yeah, something's wrong. So,
like that's a cool use case.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I don't know if I would get the MXM for that, but I like that. That's cool.
So if your pumps just do their same thing, you don't care, then no, there's not really a justification for it. But if you want to do advanced stuff and control them based on actions of other sensors, then that's where it makes more sense. So it depends on how mad scientists see and how crazy you get with the use cases.
Which is the typical Apex control freak anyway. So you're just now able to play control freak with your Ecotech gear now.
And AI, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
so,
except the Versa.
Yeah, I hope they add that one day. I really hope they do.
I've heard they're working on MXM too, so I think...
Hopefully. Yeah, because I love the Versa. I think it's like, I love the programming. My guess would be, because you can do so much more with the Versa than like almost any other dosing pump.
And you think it's a competition for the dose?
No, I don't think it's a competition. I mean, it probably is. But I think that my guess is you just wouldn't have all the features. Because if you think about the dose, it tells it on or off based on the programming, right? Where the Versa, like it can contract, container volume, or you could dose, faster or slower speeds over certain durations. Like you could do a lot more with it in the programming. And my guess is that they just don't have that all available, the same option, so it probably would take away features by using an update. This is my blind guess of why.
My weird guess is also that a dosing pump, more so than any other piece of equipment, has the ability to kill your tank by dosing something or overdosing something. And if you're not 100% confident in that connection, like, do not do it. And that's also my thing, was like, I think all the other connections, like for instance, if you turned your lights on and you forgot to turn up the whites or something, it's not going to kill your tank immediately. If you were dosing chemicals and you overdosed something by 5 mils, like depending on the tank and what you're dosing, you can kill stuff. So I think that's my speculation, that maybe the connection wasn't 100% like, we got it. That's it's Ecotech. I think their quality control is different than,
Yeah.
well, no, it's not Ecotech per se. It's a combined. I don't know. That's my speculation, and I don't have any inside info. That's just mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rob says I like to play with that. I have a Hydros, Rob, and I love it. It's my controller of choice right now. So
You make me think if I should give it another chance.
I never stopped. I'm a day oneer.
I had it for a while, and I don't know. I just had lots of weird issues over time. Like, it was good at first, but then eventually I had weird issues. But it was mainly Wi-Fi disconnects and stuff.
So the plug bars.
Yeah.
I don't use the plug bars. The Wi-Fi plug bars, I do not use them for anything mission. So, Dev,
Yes.
you are 100% correct. At first, the Wi-Fi devices had a lot of issues. And every now and again, they have weird issues. I just make sure that the stuff I plug in them is not something that's, for instance, I have one Wi-Fi plug bar that's all my Vortex. So all I do is turn them off for water changes.
Yeah.
Then the other one is, I think I have like a heater in it, but it's just the backup sensor. Like you turn the heater off.
Did you, question though, did you ever have issues where it would just like lose the power bar and just disconnect and it just doesn't come? See, I had weird stuff like that. And I'm like,
so I think, I don't know, but I have issues. I use a Google router, and I have issues when I set up I actually move my router around my house where I don't need what do you call it? Where I don't need what do you call it when you extend the network? When I don't need the extender. Because the extender caused weird issues, not only with my Hydros, I think, but it also caused weird issues with other equipment in my tank where I'd be sitting somewhere and I'd just lose connection. And once I unplugged the extender, like I wouldn't get connection in my kids' rooms. Like I would have low signal in my kids' room because it's going through multiple walls and a kitchen to get there. So I just moved the router to its a more central location and not use the extender. So sometimes when you're using the extender, it acts weird. I know you can't set up, when you're setting up a plug bar, connecting the plug bar in the setup process to an extender causes weird crap that you don't want to deal with.
Okay, so Fish Freak Phil, Hydros doesn't work well with mesh Wi-Fi. That's probably related.
See?
So mine isn't mesh per se, but I do have multiple access points. Yeah. But it's all the same system. They're all wired, so it's not like wireless mesh hops. It's like all wired backbone. But I'm pretty sure that's semi-related. So
because they're not controlling that firmware on that plug bar. They have no control over even updating the firmware. It's just a protocol that they're communicating with.
Yeah.
And I don't think they can even if they see an issue, there's nothing they can do per se to, because I think some guys in the UK actually found the protocol that it communicates over, and you were able to buy like cheapo plug bars.
It's probably like ESP32 or something.
Yeah, they didn't work. I have the XP8s though. Love those. All my mission critical stuff is on the XP8s. And then, again, just the secondary stuff, like all my Vortex are on a plug bar where I turn them off for water changes. And that's all they do.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll try it again, but I think it would be XP8. Yeah, I have a dedicated 2.4 for just the tank and nothing else on that SSID. That's related to the tank zero issues then you could. Yeah.
What I do love about my Hydros, though, Dev, is all the devices I've bought ever are still useful to some extent. Like when I'm setting up the Nano, I took out an old X2 I had and turned it into an ATO for the tank. And then I was like, oh, let me bring this into the Hydros network. When I'm mixing station, I just mounted like something over it where I had a bunch of sensors so I can sense temperature and you can sense like flow rate. So I like the Hydros because the devices, if I just want to plug something, like I had a Hydros and I was like, I'm going to plug one under my sink where I can get leak detection or temperature, or whenever I do get a TDS meter or get a flow sensor to see how much flow, like there's so many things you can do because you just take the sense device and just put it wherever and just, use it. I like it. Yeah. I like it for that.
Okay, so this is completely sidebarred, but for another cool thing with that, I know I did a video on a while back, but I use something called Home Assistant, which is a
What's it
little
called? Say that again.
home assistant. It's like a little web server OS that basically can work with any smart devices,
Uh-huh.
and you can do super cool stuff. But you're talking about leak sensors, so you can just buy like Zigbee leak sensors for super cheap, and they're wireless and put them anywhere, and have like alerting off it and all that type of stuff.
I think you were telling me about this.
Yeah, it's super cool. But
Yeah.
so I guess what my gripe at the time was is I have 3 or 4 access points in my house because I use like Ubiquity stuff, but it's like like small business grade stuff. But like I have it pulling the data from like I don't know if this shows up, but I have like pulling all the stats off my Apex on here. Like I can see all my tanks, I can see my vivariums, the temperatures, humidity, cameras. I have door light switches for everything. There's like tons of cool stuff. But I can be like, okay, if my Apex is an alarm, I can make a light on my desk flash or something. Like you do tons of cool stuff. Or if there's like a water leak sensor, and you can just put these little wireless pucks wherever you want. Again, you can make stuff happen, other stuff. So it's really really cool.
You were telling me about this before. I don't think I bookmarked it, so I'm gonna bookmark it now. Home Assistant. I really got to check this out.
Yeah, it's open source. You can make really slick interfaces, and you could control a lot of the smart stuff. So if you have like smart light switches or like fans, I like if you have a Google Nest, you can integrate it. It's an interface to bridge together all the random smart devices.
Oh,
And
it
I
works
like
with
it.
HomeKit Bridge.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I like it because I can get
Oh, it
rid of
works
all the
with you.
cloud controllers. Yeah, but you can get a lot of the stuff, you can get rid of the cloud controllers, and it's all local. So if your internet's out, your stuff still works, right? Where if you're on the cloud and there's something up with the internet, okay, half your smart home devices don't work anymore. Where this keeps it local, so it's doesn't you don't even necessarily need the internet per se. But
Interesting.
I can, like I have it pulling in my Apex. I have it pulling in my Vivarium humidity sensors. I can see if my lights are on or off, if doors are open. Like you can integrate stuff, which is really cool. But you can make different
Oh,
brands work together, which is what makes me think it's cool. But
okay.
just for if you want like a nice, cheap, easy way to put leak sensors all over random places, like that's a really easy way to do it.
I like. Oh, see, you've got me sold now because I'm just looking at even lights. I got a ton. Like I use Philip Hue. My
Yep.
light at my desk is Elgato, and
Mm-hmm.
I hate using the Elgato app because it's terrible.
You can
And
link it
then
all
like
to Home Assistant.
a bunch of the stuff is connected through HomeKit, so
Yeah.
maybe that's another. Zigbee. I like Zigbee. It's here too. So yeah,
Yeah.
like all the
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Just looking at it, all the stuff I use is already here.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
it's pretty powerful. You can integrate tons of things with it.
Okay. I'm
Um,
gonna check it out.
do you trust the app? Which app? Home Assistant? Yes, because it's all local. I trust it more than I would trust cloud devices of other people's random apps. Okay, so here's the thing. If you buy a lot of these like smart lights and different things, everyone has its own app. And it's going to some server overseas in China and back again or everything else versus just controlling it directly from your own house, right? To me, it makes more sense than going across the internet and back to control a light bulb or something.
Yep.
And then if your
Rob.
internet's out, your stuff still works.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I hate that. That's what I like. That's one of the things that I think Apex probably should work on in their next round, and
Mhm.
something I think the Hydros, like if I'm home, like a lot of people got said, hey, what if my home internet goes out? Like with the Wi-Fi stuff, I'm like, it still works because if
Mhm.
you're local, it just talks to each other over the network.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do not know how to use like there's an Apex local, but a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know how to use it. So
No,
it
it's a different web page.
yeah, it's a
Whatever your Apex name is, if your default's Apex.local, if you call it something else, then it's just .local and a web
yeah.
page, and then you could control your tank locally.
Most of us don't know that or even know where to find it, but
I should do
I
a
get
video
it.
on this one day.
You should like a lot of people don't know, like we don't know.
Yeah, I'll educate. Okay, future video.
That's your job, David, to educate us.
This is inspiration for random stuff to do videos on. I don't know.
Amen.
Half the time it's what do I get questions on that week? What's inspiring? Actually, that's the good thing. If you're still watching this stream after us babbling for 2 hours, thank you. Welcome. Happy holidays. But if you have any like really stuff you want to learn more about or like video topic requests, like pop them in the comments to this one once we're done, and I'll use it for future videos.
Well, I think once you figured out what you're going to do with the red dragon and stuff, I definitely want to see that follow-up video. And some of the stuff you did years ago that you think the videos are old and you've learned more now, or I always want to know, like, hey, you got the Vectra, like, that's a terrible thing, but you got the Vectra and you did a review on it years ago. Like, what is it like to use it after 4 years?
Still good?
Because that's not something,
That's
like
fair.
some of us, like you and I are the crazy people who go through a lot of stuff. Some people, when they buy that Vectra, they actually want to know they're going to use it for 4 or 5 years. So they want to know what is it going to be like after 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So, and
That's
especially if you ever have issues and you need to contact Ecotech support, just let people know what I don't think that's something that a lot, like the reputable companies, whoever CoralView distributes, like Neptune, Ecotech, AI, the Sea Chase, like these guys have really good support. So whenever you have an issue and you call, the people who answer the phone and who help you, I know the US guys, maybe it's different in Canada, but it's really, really, really.
Dude, we should do like an undercover support thing and just like make up a fake name and a fake issue and just like do the rounds for support. We can
call
voice
Roger and
changer.
be like, hey, he's like, hey, this is Roger from Tube. I'm like, hey, Roger, this is Seymour from. He's like, oh, I know your voice. Like,
We'll get voice changers.
Yeah, I try to. Whenever I see the Ecotech, I saw the Ecotech guys a couple years ago. And I'm like, hey, I'm so and so, and they're like, oh, we know who you are. I'm like, oh shucks. It's like, no. You call a lot. I'm like, oh shucks, I'm in trouble. They're like, no, you probably use a lot of our stuff that you. So I'm like, okay. So we should. I like that.
Yeah. I was hoping to do a quarterly live stream to help us with programming stuff. All right, I will do more programming and custom stuff. I can totally do that.
Yeah. Hey, this is Zigbee stuff that you spoke about. Like, hey, I like that. Like home automation, like controlling without using a controller, like leak detection.
100%. Another like stupid little thing I did that's been very useful is the little door contact sensors you can get for like $10-15. I got one of those and I put it on the back of my fridge doors. So if the fridge door is left open for more than 5 minutes, sometimes you close and it doesn't fully click in. And I have it send a voice prompt to Alexa after 5 minutes. So Alexa's like, hey, you left the fridge open. You should probably close it. So if someone leaves the fridge open for more than 5 minutes, then you hear that, you're like, oh yeah, go close the fridge. So
you're telling me you don't have a Samsung fridge that gives off this god-awful sound whenever you leave it open?
Not that fancy. Nope.
Oh my gosh.
Alexa tells me.
Rip little hair I have off when, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I said a text-to-speech. My home assistant sends a text-to-speech prompt through Alexa, and then she speaks out whatever text I pass it.
Fish Freak Phil says, David, it can be an issue with the amount of devices you have.
It's not that.
Sure. How many devices do you have on Wi-Fi, Devin?
Many. But I also have 4 access points, and they're all like industrial that can handle like a couple hundred clients. It's not that. I work in IT.
What do you have, a T5? What do you have, a T1 line going to your house?
I have a gig fiber.
Oh, okay. Canada. Canadians.
What do you have?
Regular internet, Optimum, but it's pretty fast.
Yeah. Do you run Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi? You absolutely can. I was going to, but I ended up using like an old Lenovo Tiny that I got for free because it takes like 10 watts of power and it's ultra powerful and fast.
They sell the hubs, right? I think if I'm going to do it, I'll get a hub because
they do sell little basically Raspberry Pi kits or custom ones.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. My DIY days are done. Chewy is talking geek stuff. I wrote a bash script that gets the Apex CFD backup and stores it in Git. I also run that as a cron job in Home Assistant.
Chewy, you should send that to me. That's sweet. I wish there was a nice way to back up Apex. Like I helped someone the other day that replaced it, and I literally just opened 2 different window tabs and just copy pasted between the 2 of them to like redo his programming. But heck yeah, I would love to grab that script. That'd be handy.
I use my Casa Wi-Fi outlets to control my Quanta light bars. See?
I did not get my Basler's fish food. I ordered some along with the skimmer, and my package got held up at the border, and they never told me why. And then BRS reshipped it. But I said, don't worry about the food because I didn't know if that was related. If that was why, I don't know why, but that was very annoying. So I never did get to try it.
Ah.
I
Did
know.
BRS get the old package back?
I don't know. I'm
Okay,
assuming so. I'm assuming the return is.
yeah,
It was a
because
Bubble King skimmer in that package, so hopefully it was. But BRS is wonderful, and they just reshipped the package, so thank you for them.
so you think because the fish food and they didn't know what it was.
I
Man,
don't know.
you Canadian border people are really serious. Like the questions they were asking when we were coming into Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's like zero issues, and other times it's like same thing. I had this other package, and most of the time my stuff all shows up, but they're like randomly selected to like check out. It's annoying.
They know your
I should
name.
have had that package by now.
You're in a database, Dev.
You think the amount of packages that I have that they wouldn't worry about it? I should
Oh,
be on,
well, that's
I
why
should
they're
be on the
worried
white
about
list.
it. That's why they're worrying about it.
Yeah,
They watch one of your videos like, this guy might be bringing in coral.
I have done that once, but I drove across, and I just had to pay the taxes. But it was just rock flowers, so it wasn't bad.
You can't move Acropora, right?
No,
You would absolutely.
no, you need a permit, but soft stuff you're allowed to bring in.
Oh, soft stuff. Can I
Yeah.
bring it back to the U.S.?
I'm assuming so. As far as I know, it's just stuff on CITES. So basically, anything with a skeleton is tricky. Anything soft, like zoas, mushrooms, rock flowers, they're all fair game.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right, buddy. I think we'll wrap her up. It's been a good 2 hours. Been a fun one.
Right. Always a pleasure.
I know. Oh. Here's the script. This one will save the file locally. Oh, are you sending it in the chat, Chewy? Or are you sending it on email or Instagram or other? But either way, that's sweet. Thank you for that. I will totally
Wait, let's
try
give
that.
it a second and see if he posted it. Did he post it?
I don't know.
Let's give it a second.
You can use your WSL, the Linux subsystem in Windows, and use Windows Schedule to run it daily. And we'll append the date and file.
Wow, you guys are speaking another language. I haven't spoken about cron jobs in 10 years. Wow.
What? You don't schedule stuff?
I do, but
Yeah, that's fair.
not the stuff you guys use.
Great stream. Great New Year's, guys. Thank you. Thanks for the stream. You're most welcome. Oh,
Thank you,
thanks for
guys.
joining me for the stream. It's been a while since you've been on.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to geek talk with you.
Perfect.
I had probably ended up adding too much stuff to my cart, which always happens when I talk to you, but you know.
I tried to add all Reef powder in my cart, but they were not in stock at BRS, so that slowed down that plan. I'll see if anyone else has it on Black Friday sales in Canada. Or not
You
Black
mean
Friday. Yeah,
you
Black
mean
Bucks
no,
Day.
you mean Boxing Day.
Yeah, sorry. We'll see. I'll see if any of the closer places hopefully have something. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Chewy. That's awesome.
Hey.
Yeah, Pastebin wasn't showing up. But yeah, if you email to me, that'd be wicked. I'm looking forward to trying that out. All right, guys. Hopefully everyone enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. You need to subscribe. And we'll be back next Wednesday for something. I don't know. Want to join me next Wednesday?
Yeah. I'll commit yes to it, right?
All right.
I'll commit
All right.
a 50-50. I'm 50% on for next Wednesday. I think so.
I'll bug you next week. We'll find something
All
good
right.
to go down. All right, guys.
Sounds
Have
good.
a wonderful night. Thanks for hanging out.